Hell yeah. Great job, man.
And we got a crash. Cars spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby. Come on. Oh my God, guys. Yes. Yes. Unbelievable. You guys are the best. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, what a year.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. For the first time in 2022, we are officially live on my channel. That's right, no pre-record this time. We are live in the flesh in the Zoom windows. And this week, we are joined by Xfinity Series driver for Our Motorsports, Anthony Alfredo, to kick off the show. Anthony, we're just talking. It's been, I think, over a year since you were on the podcast, but thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. It's definitely been way too long. We got to do this more frequently, but I appreciate the opportunity and excited to be here with you all.
Well, we have a lot to get to later in the show, but while we have a driver here who just raced in that crazy, I heard a lot of drivers call Atlanta wild, like that was the word of the day. But can you give us any additional insight as someone who was there in person on the front lines? How insane was it racing in a pack on a 1.5 mile track?
It was really weird because we've never had anything like that before. And to be honest, it really did feel like a mini Daytona because it was Speedway-like in the sense that you were pretty much wide open, maybe not further back in the pack, but if you were up front in the pack, you could run full throttle all the way around because we had the tapered spacer, and it was more or less a restrictor plate race. They added banking, and it was repaved, so there's plenty of grip to hold the car to allow you to do that. And it was just honestly weird because obviously it's, much shorter to a normal super speedway, but you're still able to do those things. So they just the laps clicked by really quickly. But since they narrowed up the track, it was really, really tight. So it was tough to race on in itself because the corner radiuses were pretty tight, which to run wide open in. So it was really hard to make the bottom lane work. I think the top carried a little bit more momentum, and that's why we saw that middle to top groove really come in. And the bottom didn't really work unless there was enough cars down there to build up a new lane, which is very much Speedway-like in a sense. But it was totally different than anything we've had. I thought it was pretty fun. Now, I'm not saying I want every mile-and-a-half race to be like that by any means, but I don't mind doing it once a year when we go to Atlanta or twice a year. I think it was exciting. It was new. It was different. But the biggest thing was just track position. It wasn't as easy as a normal super speedway to work your way to the front whenever you wanted to go and form up a new lane. You were kind of just running wherever you were, unless you had the track position. I think if we as well as anyone in the field, I felt like could have gotten up front or stayed up front if we could have got there, whether it was on pit road or through strategy or whatever. So it was different. It was fun. I hope the fans enjoyed it. I know they put a lot of work into getting that track ready in time. But I definitely missed the old worn out Atlanta too, but this is just a totally different racetrack, it felt like.
That kind of like goes into my big question for you being a driver on that track is when the surface does start to wear down, how do you think the racing is going to change? Are we going to still probably have sort of a mini Daytona, or is it going to be more like handling based, a hybrid of both? How would you think it would change when the surface starts to wear down?
That's a really great question. I think it'll depend on what package we're going to run. Obviously, we didn't have the full Super Speedway package. We just had the Speedway engine package, but we ran the normal intermediate track aero package. So did the trucks. Cup was the only series that had the full-blown Super Speedway package. So I think that helped them a little bit more as far as downforce and just handling with the cars. But obviously, that car in itself is way different than previous versions. So I think as the track wears, if we maintained this package and kept running it there, it would probably turn into like a 550 horsepower, high downforce Gen 6 type race where it's kind of single file, but you're not running wide open. It'd be hard to pass. Everyone's still close to the same speed. But at that point, I would think they would consider going back to unrestricted motor and allowing us to, kind of fight the handling on the car a little bit more and have a little bit more slipping and sliding, so to speak. But as of now, if we did go with that package, we probably would have had a not as exciting product of racing because we'd be going well over 200, probably 205, 208 or something in an Xfinity car going into turn one there. And it would be so fast and right around the bottom, most likely. And there wouldn't be much passing. It would probably get pretty spread out. So I think having that package at least allowed us to be much more grouped together, especially as you normally see in an Xfinity Series race, which is why it was pretty exciting. But it was definitely chaotic because there wasn't a whole lot of room when they wrecked, just because of how narrow the track was. So I think that's why when they did wreck, it was pretty huge.
Well, Anthony, after the Xfinity race, I'll ask you the same question I asked a couple other guys. I asked AJ Allmendinger what they could do different in the summertime. He responded with, "I don't know what to tell you. I just drive what they tell me." And then Riley Herbst, I asked him the same thing. He just said he predicts it's just going to be hot and slick. So I'll ask you, what could NASCAR do better in the summertime with these cars? I mean, it will be baking a 95-degree Atlanta sun. So what do you think they should do when they go there?
As far as the heat inside the car or the track itself?
Just the car itself, how it's going to react to the hot temperatures. What would be your ideal scenario for the cars?
I think with the same package, it really wouldn't change a whole lot. I think you'll definitely be lifting more and having more handling issues. With how much tighter that track was than a super speedway, say, where it's much larger, wider corners and all that, you are already fighting the balance mechanically significantly more. Much like why you fight the balance at Daytona a lot more than Talladega. And the July race at Daytona is always much more handling based than, say, the Daytona 500 or that weekend when it's a lot cooler outside. So I think it'd be like that. I think the racing will still be very similar, but people will be making more adjustments to get their cars driving well.
So moving on from the Atlanta weekend, let's talk about your career up to this point. Last year, ran in the NASCAR Cup Series full-time. This year, decided to take a bit of a step back to run the Xfinity Series for our motorsports. Just what did you learn last year that'll certainly help you out this season? And also just how have you been gelling with your brand new Xfinity Series team?
It's actually been really great. We've had awesome chemistry, the guys and I, and it's been a lot of fun being a part of this team. It's a small team, only been in the series for 2 years prior to this one, and expanding to a 3-car team with Brett Moffitt and Jeb Burt, my teammates, has been a tall order for us. It's been pretty challenging at times, but I think we've brought a lot of value by pushing each other to be better and tripling our knowledge gained each weekend versus when they were a 1-car team. But I'm just super thankful for Chris Auer believing in me and all my partners who've stood behind me and by my side throughout this journey and all the new relationships we've built as well. This is a big opportunity to go compete and, hopefully win a race and make the playoffs their goal. They've never won yet, but I definitely want to get Chris Auer his first win, my first Xfinity Series win, and be a top 12 contender week in and week out. But we're still working towards that. This whole year is going to be a process. We don't have a notebook. We're starting from scratch. We don't have tire data. We don't get sim time. There's a lot of tools we don't have that the big teams do have, in addition to just a smaller budget. But we've been doing well with that. Almost won the Auto Club race. If that red flag didn't come out, we definitely were going to be in victory lane there, but still came out of the top 5, which is quite a bit better than we probably were going to run, arguably, before that. And Daytona even came out of the 7th, so 2 top 10 finishes to start the year. And then I think went into Phoenix with an average finish at 9th before a mechanical issue prevented us from even starting the race. So that was not what we hoped for, but we got back on our feet last weekend at Atlanta and are going to COTA this weekend, hoping for a better week and a new sponsor on board, Pit Boss Grills. But racing the Cup Series last year, you mentioned, to answer that question, I definitely learned a lot from that opportunity as far as just running more races, longer races. You're racing against the other 39 best drivers in the world, and that level of competition in bigger, longer events, you really have to execute and minimize mistakes. And I think being in the Xfinity Series, applying those things that I learned, I've been able to, compete and run well. Even when we may not have the best car, we can run possibly even better than maybe we should, or just by executing well throughout the race.
Well, you mentioned it just a second ago, but you've run well this season. I mean, outside of Phoenix, you guys have had some pretty solid runs to begin the year. But take me back to this off season when you knew you weren't going to be with Front Row and Cup anymore. How did this opportunity with Our Motorsports come together? Because I think it's super interesting. Like, you're a young driver. You're younger than I think all of us here, and you're working with a guy like Pat Tryson, right? Who's been around for a very long time. He's worked with very experienced drivers. Like, how did this deal come together, and what at the time was appealing to you about it?
Yeah, so honestly, I was kind of in the same boat this year as I was last year. Right? I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, and obviously last year the goal was to run full time in the Xfinity Series with RCR after that partial season I ran the year before, which was a kind of my breakout year. I had a really great season, and I knew we could go contend for wins week in and week out, and hopefully a championship. But it just didn't work out. Didn't have enough sponsorship to do that, and as I was kind of sorting through what I could go race. The 38 car opened up, and that was last minute. I just so happened to be in the right place at the right time, I guess, and had the opportunity to get in there. So I'm thankful for that opportunity because I learned a lot from it, although it was a big step and maybe not exactly what I had planned for at that point in my career, just with my experience. But now I feel like I gained all that experience I was always lacking, running part-time and all those things. I feel like I got caught up, and now I'm a contender, I believe. So I'm super thankful for that, and that was kind of the same thing this year. Didn't expect that, obviously. Things kind of changed throughout the year, really, honestly. But the opportunity to drive the 23 car opened up, and we had some discussions actually with Chris Auer and his team a little bit earlier, and it didn't seem like it was going to necessarily work out originally. And while I was at home working some construction for my dad in the winter, I got a phone call at 4 in the afternoon that said, "Hey, you still want to come drive the 23 car? The opportunity's available." And I had to make a few phone calls to make it happen, but Chris told me, "We're doing our driver announcement at the Hall of Fame tomorrow. Can you be there?" And I was like, uh-oh. So I basically got a flight that super early the next morning to fly down and be there for the Hall of Fame announcement, and that was really cool to be a part of, and just thankful to have a team that believes in me. You mentioned Pat Tryson and Rick Corelli, my spotter. Those guys have won multiple races at the Cup Series level and are veterans of the sport. So I think they're really great for our team as well to help us build our program up and for me to lean on to get better every week.
That's super interesting. Yeah. Well, we've got over 500 people watching, and I did catch one fan question caught my attention before we got started. John Vanderventer asked, obviously we know you're a big iRacing guy, big sim racing guy. He asked, do you plan to do any NR Night in America races any weeks that you're not racing, in real life?
I'm down to give it a shot. I'm sitting in my SimSeats driving simulator right now doing this, so I'm interested in any of it. I definitely love sim racing games even. So I think I gotta make my debut here soon.
Our friend IDK, he would love that. He puts on a heck of a show over there. Well, we appreciate you joining us here to start this show, Anthony. This weekend, I know at Circuit of the Americas, you've got a brand new paint scheme, the Pit Boss colors. We're joking before the stream, but I really like this flame paint scheme a lot. This is a good one. I know you said Lefty designed this one, right?
Yeah, Lefty's done all our schemes so far this year. They've looked
no wonder
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
He does great work. Shout out to him. He's done some great work in the past too, but I'm definitely proud to have him a part of our team designing our beautiful race cars.
Yeah,
He's doing a great job. I got to say, my personal favorite is that Dude Watts car. It looks pretty good.
It's good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding stuff. Yeah, well, I'll be in Austin this weekend. I'll be seeing it in person. I'll be cheering you on. But I know all of us watching the stream, all of us in here, will be watching you out this Saturday as well. Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you on social media? What sort of accounts can you shout out?
Yeah, everybody can check me out at Anthony Alfredo on all social media platforms except for TikTok's fast_pasta, and then Twitch is Anthony Alfredo Racing. So definitely check me out there to stay up to date with what I'm up to, and I hope to see you at COTA. Hopefully it's not monsooning this time because we raced in like a full-blown tropical storm last
I
time.
think the weather's looking better this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good, so I'm excited about it, but we'll see you down there.
Fingers crossed. Well, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for being on the show, and best of luck this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Sweet deal.
Later, man.
Anthony Alfredo joining us to kick off the show. Now, we're going to be talking about Atlanta. I was not at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but a couple of these gentlemen were. In fact, both of you guys in this box right over here were at Atlanta for the first official Superspeedway race. So we're going to talk through the Cup. We'll talk a little bit about Xfinity and trucks as well, but let's begin with the Cup Series race. It was, in fact, a pack race. You guys were there. You heard from the people who've been going to Atlanta races for years. What was the crowd response like when they saw 2 and 3 wide racing for 500 miles?
All the fans we talked to, they loved it, honestly.
Every single one.
While I get why some people were against it, I hate to say the important part is that the fans were happy.
And it was packed, too. That was the most packed I had ever seen Atlanta be in a very long time.
I've been to 2 other Atlanta races, March 2018 and summer of last year. Those crowds looked horrible compared to this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it was sort of a battle internally for me because, from the entertainment aspect, I'm like, yes, this is exciting, this is cool, yada yada yada. But then obviously, from the pure racing fan in me, I always loved Atlanta Motor Speedway, no matter if they had the close finishes or if somebody won by 10 seconds. I mean, me personally. But then obviously, from a business perspective, you want to have more butts in the seats and stuff. And this brought out a ton of fans too. I mean, I did not expect it to be this packed, the way it was over the past weekend. But I think obviously for the next Atlanta race in the summer, I think it's going to be just as packed, if not completely sold out, maybe after this race. I mean, again, and the types of fans we talked to, we saw a combination of some newer NASCAR fans coming to their first NASCAR race, but also we had a couple of people in the camping grounds. One of them had said, "I've been coming here since 1993. That was some of the best racing I'd ever seen." I'm like, damn,
and that's saying a lot because they saw some good races.
Yeah, during that era. So it's passed the eye test, and it's definitely passed the test with the local fans.
And granted, in the infield, you can get anything. We talked to plenty of drunk fans. We talked to plenty of sober fans who knew that they actually enjoyed that too.
Yeah,
you got a wide range of opinions. Then we'll talk a little bit later about the entertainment, the super speedway versus more purist racing. But sure, if we look at this race as a super speedway, which is the way I saw it, it checked all the boxes. You had 47 lead changes, 20 different. More drivers led a lap officially in this race than didn't lead a lap in this race. That's peak. That's tandem drafting era kind of stats right there. So as a super speedway race, this did everything you expected. But because it was a super speedway, you also saw a lot of big crashes. They actually, an interesting stat, they crashed more cars this week than they did in the Daytona 500. So an attrition race. Jarrett, I mean, what did you make of the super speedway racing at Atlanta?
Well, the one thing I want to say before I go right into it is I do find it funny after we've heard weeks and weeks and weeks about how many, supply chain shortages there are for these cars and how tough it is to get cars out there, and they added another super speedway. I find the clash of ideals on that kind of funny.
Poor Colleague Racing, whether it's Justin Haley or the other car, they've wrecked so many this year.
But I got crucified on Twitter for this one, and even in my comments a little bit, but I'm gonna stick with it. I personally didn't like the race, and I know people get mad at me for it. I don't care. Yeah. The way I saw it is, to me, it reminded me of a 2012 super speedway race, and everyone's going to remember, the last laps of Talladega, in October of 2012, but they forget the rest of the 99% of that, where it was just really too wide the whole time. And yes, there was passing for the lead, but that was about the only place there was passing unless there was a major screw up. And that's what it seemed like. It seemed like, yes, teams could make their way up, and drivers could over long runs. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of people noticed that a lot of the guys who are making their way back up were making it up through pitch strategy. We're making it up through restarts when everything was sort of crazy. And I personally am not a fan of that, because I think right now what we got with Atlanta as a super speedway, and this is why I asked Anthony this question, I think this is the best we're going to get with it. Personally, I hope I'm wrong, but the thing I'm worried about is, you saw how tight it was in those corners and how they could only really do 2 wide, because they tried a third line. They did not, at least not to my recollection, there was no 3 wide racing for a large amount of runs. What I'm worried about is it's going to become something where when the surface wears out, you're going to slowly but surely have people inch closer to the wall until you're sort of dealing with a super speedway Darlington race in a sense, where the high line is the way to go because it's just so slick on that track. And that's something I'm worried about for the summer too. So I don't want to be negative about it. I want it to, and I'm glad people liked it. It wasn't my cup of tea. It had great moments. I'm not going to say it was a terrible, terrible race. It wasn't 2012 Auto Club or any of those really horrible. It wasn't 2008 Brickyard. It wasn't that like that. I'm not saying that, but I just didn't like it personally.
I think one thing I liked, and I noticed that one of the best strategies for that track was right entering turn one, where it goes from the tri-oval into the turn. I think it's just because of the way the geometry was. It was easier for them to make a pass going into that turn specifically. I think mainly because you get the momentum coming through the tri-oval that you can pull that off versus going straight down the backstretch the whole time. You really couldn't do much except for just pull yourself through the turn. If you wanted to make the pass, you had to do it in turn one. And we saw the truck and the Xfinity race won right there. Cup race could have probably been won there if it hadn't been for Christopher Bell fighting Chastain a little bit there.
And also, too, another factor we saw in this race, a lot of tire issues, especially if you were like in the front pack, too. Like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was leading the entire race at one point, and then all of a sudden just had his tire going out and stuff. And he wasn't the only one, too. There were a few others as well.
But also on that note, Ross Chastain had a tire blow while leading and, ended up finishing second. Yeah. But he should have been out of this race.
These new cars are tough.
The new car,
very tough.
He backed into the wall. Gen 6, his day would be done. Mm-hmm. This car, and I said this when Daniel Suarez hit the wall 3 times in nose at Las Vegas. I could barely tell if Daniel Suarez got into the wall. Yeah. Same thing here with Ross Chastain. It didn't matter. He didn't do any damage to his car by doing that.
Meanwhile, Noah Gragson on the first 20
laps. Okay, well, he nosed it directly into the turn, though.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think kind of like what you said, Jared, if I was to pick out some negatives, yes, there was a lot of gridlock midway, middle of the pack, Up front, I like that you could make moves by yourself, often going into turn one. Like at the end of stage one, Ross Chastain and William Byron were almost trading like slingshots and slide jobs, and I thought that was pretty cool. That was something you don't typically see at Daytona or Talladega. The other negative, I think, were the tire issues, which kind of, like it's fairly common at a repave where it's a fresh surface, they bring a hard tire, and then just like, boom, it fails. Like there wasn't really tire wear. It just, boom, blew out. And it unfortunately blew out 2 or 3 times on guys who were at the very front of the pack, and that led to some big wrecks. So you hate to see wrecks that are kind of unavoidable like that, where you couldn't really see them coming. Like Denny Hamlin bump drafting Kyle Larson, and that gets a little squirrely and he spins out. Okay, you could see that coming. That looked like a super speedway crash. Or Austin Dillon getting arrow loose in front of Kyle Busch and wrecking. That looked like a super speedway. Those wrecks don't bother me as much. It's the ones where, Ross Chastain's leading the field and blows a tire and 5 cars wreck. Mm-hmm. Same thing with when it happened to Reddick, who was like in 6th. Like that's the kind of stuff that's frustrating. But up front, it was the opposite. A lot of tracks, it's like, a lot of great passing, middle of the pack, nothing up front. It was the opposite. There was a lot of passing up front, and I'll be honest, from home, that's where the cameras are usually focused. So I thought it was a pretty good race if you view it as a super speedway race. But we can talk about the winner in just a moment. We haven't even mentioned William Byron, but Darren, you guys already said this a little bit, but you talked to fans who obviously loved it. You also talked to some drivers, and it sounds like driver opinions. I know I've heard some of the clips and seen some of the clips that you posted, Danny, but drivers seemed, I don't know if mixed is the right word, or they just seemed almost like they'd given up.
A lot of them definitely masked their frustrations, I can tell.
Yeah, obviously the most obvious one, Kyle Busch, after he DNF'd, he was just, he kept it very brief. He was just like, no,
8 words.
Don't like it.
8 words. That's all he needed.
Meanwhile, Kurt Busch, his opinions were brief, but he was a little more open towards the end of his interview after the race. He was like, I hope we go unrestricted in July.
Which
so there's definitely some of that stuff. So.
Well, he said unrestricted. He doesn't mean entirely unrestricted.
Yeah. That's what he means. But yeah, it seems like overall though, I feel like most of the drivers would prefer Old Atlanta, but towards the end of some of their answers though, they were like, as long as the fans are happy.
Yeah, that was the most common thing. I think I heard that from Ben Rhodes,
Ty Majeski after his
AJ
race.
Allmendinger. Austin Hill.
And then Ross Chastain
Ross
had even
Chastain
mentioned
even
that, but also
Ross Chastain said, "Don't do this any other mile and a half."
he said, "Let's leave Kentucky."
He said, "Leave Kentucky 6 feet under."
That's my thoughts. I mean, that's what I think. Atlanta is already pushing it, but if they do this, even if they do this to Texas, which it's not Eddie Gossage over there. I don't know who runs Texas now, but whoever it is, they're like, oh shit, I kind of would like to do this at Texas. As long as they stop at Atlanta, I'm not going to be a vocal
If they touch
complaint.
Texas, things got to be bigger in Texas. It's got to be Texas Mega Speedway.
At this point, I don't even want the
Superspeedway.
meme. I don't even want the 3 mile meme anyway. Go ahead, Jared.
But I'm gonna say this. I don't want it, and I said this in my video, like part of this in my video. Atlanta's the way it is. I can complain all day and say, "Hey, I want the old one back." It's not going to happen.
Can't get it
I've
back.
accepted
Yeah,
it.
it's already done.
But the thing that I think kind of as a fan frustrates me the most is it's like, the goal of this was to get Daytona and Talladega type racing. I think we've all accepted that. We've all said that on here already.
And they got it.
The problem for me is Daytona and Talladega racing came literally out of like necessity. Like we are going now. Yeah, we are now going out of our way to put them closer together. And let's be real, they're never going to say this, but entertainment in a lot of respects is more crashes. I think that's what SMI and NASCAR, they're not ever going to come out and say it, but that's partly what their goal is here.
The guy at the president of Talladega said
you can't beat Talladega, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember being in the stands, everyone's cheering, and I'm just like, am I really that out of am I that out of
And
it?
the president's like, yeah, we want every car like that.
And the thing is, it feels weird to hear Jarrett saying this because obviously Superspeedway was Dale Jr.'s best track.
I personally love Daytona and Talladega, but it's because those tracks, like I think that's also something else for me, is that part of the like awe of Superspeedway racing is it is the biggest racing in NASCAR. It's the biggest tracks, fastest tracks, biggest banking for the most part. Like everything is just, it screams NASCAR. And for me, this is just more NASCAR chasing after, or hopefully not chasing after, but maybe chasing after a new trend. Because I'll be real, I don't think they're going to stop at Atlanta. I really don't. I think unless I see a really bad return on investment in the long term, I think they're going to do this to another mile and a half or two. I mean, I'm already seeing people be like,
next.
I already see people being like, why don't we have the 600 be a super speedway now?
No.
We might as well make it good. Like, I do agree that if this is the only mile and a half super speedway, it would be a special thing. It'd be its own thing, and hopefully would be sort of like a Daytona Talladega in a sense of drawing people in. I'm cool if more people are watching, but if we do this every single week or every week that we're not at a road course or short track or Pocono, it's gonna wear out its welcome. I said before the show, the fan response reminded me so much of the 2018 All-Star race, where everyone's like, "Hey, we liked it. Don't do any more of this." And what did NASCAR do for 3 more years? The 550 package. And that is my worry. Like, because I'm completely fine. It seems like 80 to 90% of fans were fine with it, and then people like me were the vocal minority. And if they're happy, I don't want to rain on their parade or any of your parades. Like, if you guys liked it, I'm cool by me. I'm just worried that it's gonna wear out its welcome too quick if NASCAR goes NASCAR on it.
One thing we were talking about before the show, and I brought this up, we do have now, by doing this, kind of a fairly mixed schedule now. They only have to do Superspeedway racing 6 times a year now. You've got 6 road courses with short tracks. We got Martinsville twice, Richmond twice.
Technically, you only have 5 traditional point short tracks. That's what I said might be bothers me. That we have more super speedways than we do traditional short tracks. If you count the Clash, okay, it's 6 and 6. Then you got the dirt race.
Again, if you look
even
at
though
ratings,
it's a bigger track, I'm going to count Gateway as racing like a short track.
Well, it's not. It's one of the short ovals. Then you have a separate category of 5 or 6 Phoenixes and Dovers.
But if you look at ratings, I know Eric, you mentioned this, and I've mentioned it too. Is like if you look at ratings, NASCAR fans don't watch short track. See, it is the weirdest thing.
And that's a point. I feel like what we've learned this week, and maybe we already knew it, and I'm just tardy to the party, but like we've always kind of divided the NASCAR fan base into 2 sides. There's the fans that want all the changes and new things and experiments. They're maybe the casual fans, and then you have the hardcore racing fan. That's the Southern, traditional American motorsports fan. I think there's a third category that I think is more of that traditional fan that just wants super speedways. Like, I think NASCAR is obviously trying to cater to the casual fan by bunching them up and leading to crashes. But I see an awful lot. I see a ton of what I would consider stereotypical NASCAR fans who are cheering the heck out of what we saw at Atlanta. They love the crashing at Talladega. They love the big packs at Daytona. So I think we're almost seeing a third category here that's short tracks. Yeah, they're kind of fun, but we'd like the big packs and the big wrecks.
We just talked about when I was at Talladega and the president came out there and said every race needs to end like this. 95% of the people were cheering.
And that's NASCAR's stereotypical audience. That's Talladega.
I was the one out of the loop of the entire crowd there. Meanwhile, they're completely fine with two guys hitting the wall at 180 miles an hour head on. Like,
yeah, we want that.
Yeah, it has become too simplified. I think the argument really has, and we can talk about this a little later with the entertainment stuff or with any of it. But it's like it really has felt like that people on the opposite sides or different angles of what other people are thinking are just simplifying what the other person thinks so that they can get their point across better. Like, that's what it's felt like. And I think that, like, overall, it's just that's sort of spread throughout the entire fan base, at least online.
Yeah. Well, we can talk more about that in a moment. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut Danny off. I thought he had something to say there, but we can talk a little bit about the guy who actually won this race. Like, it's kind of hard to dive too deep into this. Like, Toyotas look good. We were worried about them a little bit after Phoenix. Toyotas looked fine. Ford was up there at times. Hendrick looked good. Chevy's like, it's hard to read too much into Atlanta because it was a super speedway. Like, there are 20 different leaders. Like, everybody led at some point in this race. But William Byron did lead the most laps, and he did win the race. So if anyone did stand out, any individuals did stand out, I think William Byron has to be at the top of that list. So he gets his first win. This is only his third career win now. 2 have been super speedways. But last year, he did this last year. He won a race. I think he won last year. Was it the 3rd race of the year?
Homestead, yeah.
This year, he's won the 5th race. He was super consistent all last summer, made it in the playoffs, made the round of 12, but maybe got bounced out a little early. Tyler Reddick had maybe a little something to do with that. This year, I think everyone's looking at William Byron to win multiple races. I think if he doesn't win 2, 3, 4 races this year, I think people will begin to be disappointed and will feel like he's underachieving. So how do you guys feel? Do you think Byron, this is just the first of many?
This is really cool. Napa Racing fan 927 in the chat. He says that William Byron was impressive, though. Race Hub said his average running position was 4.7.
He led the most laps,
I did see him in the front. Like I saw people come and go. I saw Chase Elliott up there, and he fell back. I saw Bowman and Larson up there, and they fell back. Larson wrecked out. All of his teammates were fairly good, but it's about the rest of the field. They weren't staying up there, but Byron was.
Mm-hmm. But and also, to Eric's point, this is really a make or break year for him. I totally understand he signed a recent extension to stay with HMS, but again, the expectations are obviously going to get higher because you have Larson and Chase Elliott as a teammate, but then also I guess some of the fans have been asking recently, who really is the weakest link over at Hendrick Motorsports right now? And you're obviously not going to pick Larson and Elliott in that category. So it's either going to be Bowman or Byron. And honestly, you can make the case that Byron was the weakest link for a little while there because, statistically, Bowman has won way more races than Byron has at Hendrick too, and a similar amount of starts in the Cup Series overall in general too. Now, granted, Bowman started with a smaller team in Tommy Baldwin and BK Racing back in the day. But, Byron has raced in all of his Cup Series starts with Hendrick, and yet Bowman still has more wins. So, there's a case to be made there. So, I feel it is great that, Byron continues to be extremely consistent. That's cool and all. But eventually, he's going to have to start winning multiple races. And I feel like this year is a make or break one.
At this point, though, for honestly to defend both Bowman and Byron, we're on a new car, so we can basically wipe out whatever happened in the past at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone's starting fresh now. So now, hey, they're both even. So we'll take it like that.
Byron's consistently been a consistent driver. Like last year, he rattled off 9, 10, something like that, straight top 10s at one point. That's William Byron. He just doesn't win a whole lot. And that's the only reason, I think it's great that he has a win early this season, but he does only have one win in his career that came on a non-super speedway. We know Byron's a great driver. I feel like everyone's just waiting for him to take that Kyle Larson leap forward. Just hasn't quite happened yet. I feel like this is the year, though. He runs up front all the time. but can he actually win a few more races? Because that's where Bowman's had him beat. Bowman doesn't run as well as Byron, but he sneaks in there and backs into wins, as Kyle Busch would say from time to time. So, like, I don't know. Like, there really is no weak link in Hendrick right now.
No.
Like, 3 of their drivers have wins, and the 4th, Chase Elliott, is currently leading the points. Like, that's a pretty great spot to be in.
At this point, you know, unless Liberty ducks out or Ally says we don't like him anymore, Alex Bowman, I don't know why anyone would expect the Hendrick 4 to change anytime soon.
No, they're going to stay that. They should stay that way for a while.
Now, we want to talk about, you know, people who are also running up front, you know, getting second place, getting a top 3 for 3 races in a row. How about Ross Chastain and the start he's off to? I don't – granted, he's going to have to win some races, but it might be too early to be considering him a dark horse, make a good long run.
Well, also, how about Trackhouse as a whole? The first time both of their cars in the same race get a top 5 there too. And again, this was after Ross Chastain had the problems with the tire at the beginning. We were just talking about how tough the next gen is, and you know he was able to bounce back and get a second place finish there too. And Daniel Suarez too, he ran into some issues early on. Like, yeah, he had his issues, but I feel like I don't know, just like my personal favorite in that top 5. How about Corey LaJoy? His first career
cool.
Cup Series top 5. Man, that's
caught air too.
Good story for that team.
He caught air. Like, when he.
I kept mistaking him for Justin Haley in that whatever the Federation of
Justin
Eagles.
Haley was in late
Fraternity
with
of Eagles.
Noah Gregson, who was in similar car.
Yeah, it was confusing though.
I want to bring this up about Ross Chastain. And I'll bring something up about Byron too in a second. But for Chastain, we started the season really bad with a 40th and a 29th, and it was as low as 36th in points. He then has finished 3rd, 2nd, and you can argue he could have won any of those 3 races. He's currently 10th in the points, like straight up, not playoffs with the wins or whatever. 10th straight up in points. As for Byron, while he had a bit of a slow start too, and a lot of it wasn't his luck, I believe he's one of the only few, maybe the only one who has led a lap, I think, in every race. I want to say. I'll go back and check really quick.
He's always there. You just got to finish more of them. That's all we're asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll check really quick because I believe that is the stat that and granted, it's been like, single digits for a lot of them, but
he's always around. He's sniffing it.
He's always right there. Yeah. So looking at it right now, he led 1 lap at Daytona, 16 Fontana, 8 at Vegas, 12 at Phoenix, and 111 this past week.
Nickel and diamond right here. Well, except for Atlanta. They went all out of Atlanta, saved his best for Superspeedway. Well, I think I get comments on my show all the time that I don't give William Byron enough credit when he does well. I feel like all of us here, we're giving William Byron the spotlight. He stood out. He was the only dominant car driver at this Superspeedway race, and he got the win. We're just asking for more of them. More wins.
Yeah, I gotta say I disagree, Eric. You give Byron a lot of credit. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know. I feel like I give him fair enough credit. You see, he's just quiet. The problem is his personality is very laid back. It's not great in front of the camera. So I feel for Byron fans out there that are always in my DMs complaining that I don't talk enough about him. Look, I was in your place for 15 years with Matt Kenseth. He wasn't getting the spotlight, the screen time I thought he deserved. But, so I understand, and I do feel for Byron fans who don't feel like their guy's getting enough attention. Anyway, one thing that did get a lot of attention, see that segue? Not very good. Not quite a Danny B level segue. But the race actually got a solid TV rating this weekend. It was our first week-to-week increase. Phoenix to Atlanta this week actually saw a slight bump in viewership. This Sunday's Atlanta Cup race got a 2.36 rating and attracted 4.003 million viewers. That's plus 3% in ratings from the 5th race last year, and that's plus 4% in viewership from the 5th race last year. I do believe the 5th race last year was Phoenix, so not a perfect comparison, but fairly close. So, what do you guys make of that? It won the weekend once again. The thing that stood out to me, though, was in that 18 to 49-year-old demographic, the key demo, Formula One, which only got like 1.2, 1.3 million viewers, it's catching NASCAR. It's knocking on their doorstep in that demographic.
Yeah, and I just want to bring up this stat really quick because Adam Stern had tweeted about this earlier, and I had a friend send me it. Okay, so this weekend, F1 opened up for their 2022 season in the Bahrain GP, and these are the top 10 best rated markets for that race over the weekend. And
you'll see some similarities.
And three out of these top 5 really stood out to me. Number 1 was Richmond. Number 3 was Raleigh, Durham. And then number 4 was Charlotte. Aren't these like supposed to be, this is supposed to be NASCAR country, right? You know what I mean? And then it wasn't too far back. I mean, yes, NASCAR did beat them in the 18 to 49 range, but only barely too. Only like, I think it was like a 100,000 viewership difference there too.
It wasn't even that.
Again, it goes back to, dude, F1 social media presence, dude, they were a freaking afterthought for many, many years in the States. And now they are right there with NASCAR in that key demographic. So look, NASCAR has built up its core audience, you know, for many, many decades. It is always going to beat Formula One in the overall TV ratings, but you have to pay attention to that 18 to 49 demo. They're coming off of one of their best seasons in Formula One history. And also too, not only do they have the social media presence as well, they're these driver personalities too. I mean, dude, like Eric, I think you've seen it too. I mean, they have massive followings already too.
Well,
I
they
mean,
embrace it. They were all posing on the cover of, what was it, like Vanity Fair? Like
yes.
Obviously, you will never see Chase Elliott wearing like a feather boa on the cover of a magazine. Not saying he should, but I'm just pointing out the cultural and the difference in publicity between the two.
We're saying he should.
He should.
If he, I wouldn't say no if he did, but.
And also one more thing too, I wanted to add as well. I mean, like F1 too. I mean, they're also debuting a new car this year as well, and also, I mean, it's also making the whole, you know, the competitiveness in that series like a lot better too. Like Haas F1 scored their first points in nearly 2 years, you know, so that was cool. And then Ferrari's back up there as well too. So there's a lot more parity back too. So it's really the perfect storm for F1 right now. NASCAR, they gotta, you know, step it up a little bit, you know, to get ahead of them.
Yeah, we can debate where F1 is obviously beating NASCAR, where NASCAR is beating F1. That's a whole, like we do a whole podcast on that. But I just wanted to highlight that. Great number for NASCAR, going up year to year, going up week to week. But Formula One, other motorsports are kind of beating them, or at least catching them in that key demographic. NASCAR.
Well, IndyCar, they didn't.
Well, IndyCar's not on the radar.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about IndyCar at this point. But we'll wait until May. But you know, I think NASCAR they've got some work to do. They have a very old fan base, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you got to start replacing those older fans with younger fans so that they can grow up with the sport the way most of us have.
It just shocked me, those markets though, man.
It's very similar.
5.
It's so similar to NASCAR markets. I think that's interesting. That's super interesting. Well, Jarrett, what did our fans think of the race this weekend? Do you have the poll? The what is it?
Poll, the famous iceberg poll.
That's right. I was missing that in my ear.
Yeah, I got it. I wrote stuff down so I don't have to constantly be like searching for everything. So,
prepared.
50% of you said it was a great race. 31% said it was a good race, so 81% positivity for it. 11% said it was average, and 4% each said below average and bad, meaning
This average for Atlanta.
And that is out of 15.7 thousand votes.
That's gotta be close to a record, right?
That's close.
It's a little over 1,000 off, so it's actually like really close for the poll stand. Like, because put it in perspective, last week was barely over 14,000, so you came out in force. So kind of looking at the comments here, first one that pops up is from Mika Kinton. Says, I was cautiously optimistic for this race, and I'm glad that this race was entertaining to watch and really competitive throughout. So glad that these new cars have productive, great racing, and a variety of winners and driver control. Racing Aerials, I believe I follow you on Twitter. A good account. Says, a huge surprise in my opinion. Yes, it was unpredictable Superspeedway racing, but SMI made a unique 1.5-mile oval that will always put on a good show. 8 out of 10. Shinobu D21 says, holy crap, what a race. Ross was so close. Wanted to see him fight back for the win. Scroll down a little bit here. And Flying Byron 24 said the race was friggin' awesome. That doesn't count as a cuss word, by the way, just for the chat to know and keep track of.
Sounded PG to me.
Yeah. You know, maybe PG-13, but it's not pushing the censors.
Yeah, not pushing it too much.
Anthony Cross says, this new Atlanta track is 10 times better than the old. I was blown away. All sorts of guys got great finishes. It was anyone's race, close racing, evened out field, 10 out of 10, fantastic race. By the way, this is how you know that I don't pick the comments that I only agree with. Just letting everyone know that now.
Wow. You're so objective.
Oh, yeah.
What
Totally.
a journalist.
Fair and balanced. That's what I am. Let's scroll down a little bit here. I'm trying to find negative ones.
Wow.
I feel like this is.
You're trying to find your agenda. You're trying
to find his agenda, trying to push an agenda.
HD12 turned out great. Brian Taylor, great race. Man, Bubba Wallace has the worst luck. Wesley M3, absolutely incredible. Comrade Liam left the lyrics to I Ain't As Good As I Once Was by Toby Keith. Great song.
Good as I once was.
We're going to make an album.
I didn't know that song. What the hell? What just happened? Just broke into
country
You've never heard that one?
I don't listen to country music.
16.
Even if you don't listen to it,
Dude,
you've heard that.
Even my
one
mom,
somewhere.
like, yeah, I've heard it at least once.
Maybe I just zoned out.
I'm scrolling. There's like 500 comments. I don't. Let's see. Darlington and Daytona made a baby, according to Jack Straw. That's one way to look at it.
That is interesting.
Oh, I found one. Austin Justice says, not my cup of tea, but I see how 5-year-olds would enjoy it. Damn. One half mile full throttle, just a bummer for me. I won't go that far, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to read it. But Jar Jar left a comment.
Always good. Actually, is that good? Do we like Jar Jar leaving comments? That's debatable.
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
So do you want me to read the last comment? Because we know it'll be the last one is negative.
Yes. Let's hear. What is the worst of the worst?
Yeah.
All right, and I'll stop reading it if it gets too inappropriate. Tony M says, "What a pathetic showing from the fans, huh? Everyone has been talking to me about the Atlanta remake for a year, and that place still can't fill half the seats for the race on the new track.
It had more
Dude,
than
you didn't watch it, bro. You are over
It
it.
had way
You
more
watched the
than
truck
that.
race.
Atlanta continues to be the worst major market for in-person sports fans for basically every sport except UGA, I guess.
Okay,
I can't
granted,
speak to
I'm in
that.
the infield, so I can't say it as good, but I will say it looked at least 80% full.
Dude, and we had fans coming up to us after it saying like, yeah, that is the most I had ever seen Atlanta, ever for a race weekend that packed.
No wonder it got so many thumb downs in the comments then. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got ratioed too. There's like 7 responses, and I have a feeling that.
Oh god.
Well, how about
Getting
the first
ratioed
comment,
in
though?
YouTube comments. How does that happen? First comment. Okay, who's the first comment from?
Denny delivers.
Of course. Does he just have like Denny? Like, are you just I call him Denny? Denny delivers. Are you just like refreshing your feed like 24/7? How do you do this every single week? Like,
It's
I think
impressive.
that
He's
deserves
consistent.
a lot of credit.
Yeah.
So
I'm just
left-
expecting a meme. I don't expect positive or negative. I think it's just a meme.
What do you guys think? Positive, negative?
Negative. What do you think, Danny?
Negative.
He says death, taxes, Denny Hamlin DNFs, and bad runs causing my weekly insurmountable pain. Screw pushing P. I'm pushing pain and pushing pole.
That's pretty
Denny
negative.
Delivers. Yeah, Denny delivers never disappoints though.
Never lets us down. Well, that was the famous iceberg pole. I don't say it as well. Darian, what was
The
that?
famous iceberg pole.
You gotta say it with your chest. You gotta get really into it, Darian.
The pole. The famous iceberg pole.
So like Santa Claus over there. Well, real quick, before we're nearing the halfway point, and I've seen all the super chats you guys have been sending, we will be reading the first batch of super chats here at the halfway point, or maybe just after. But we do really quickly need to hit on the Xfinity and the Truck Series races. The Xfinity race, it ended kind of slow. A lot of cautions, a lot of wrecks at the very end. We heard Anthony Alfredo's firsthand experience, but it looked like a typical Xfinity Superspeedway race. It came down to best buddies, Ty Gibbs and like his uncle Ryan Sieg or something. They're so different in age. It's just so weird seeing them like confront each other and now race each other for the win. It came down to Ty Gibbs in a Joe Gibbs racing car beating Ryan Sieg, making, I believe it was a last lap pass. Second win of the year. I mean,
Poor Sieg fell off. He didn't even get to finish it as herbs.
it was a shame because he's a Georgia guy. That team, obviously, it was a small team looking for a win at Atlanta. That would have been such
And
a cool
also
story. I love
Austin
Ty
Hill,
Gibbs,
too.
but I felt bad for Ryan Sieg.
Austin Hill's a Georgia guy too, so we almost had
A
those.
lot of Georgia
He
drivers.
got
Up front.
second, so that's
Yeah.
another good super speedway run for him.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs though. Oh yeah, he was your pick. So
I got my pick.
I thought you were crazy picking Ty Gibbs. Not that we do this like NASCAR Fantasy, where you only get like a set number of picks per driver per year. But I thought you were crazy picking Ty Gibbs at a super speedway. But lo and behold, no, he didn't allow for a surprise winner. I was kind of a little bummed by that. Like I like seeing Ty Gibbs win. I want to see him do well. He's a friend of the show. But I was
Kind of a fun thing to add on. Kind of fun thing to add on that. before the race, I actually told Ty Gibbs, I said, hey, don't worry, I'm not going to let him tweet about you at all.
Yeah.
And then in front of like his grandfather, everything, he looks at us and goes, there's no such thing as curses and jinxes. I believe in God, and walks to his car.
That's some movie
It was
stuff.
so dramatic. It was like it was in a movie, and things got just so quiet where everyone around could hear that right when he said it.
And you said,
I
hey,
love Ty Gibbs.
That's
I
like-
love Ty Gibbs.
I looked and I said,
He's
"Amen,
literally
brother."
religious Kyle Busch.
God.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I'm telling you, we need like, and again, I'm not fun argument here, not meaning to be serious, but I would love to see like Ty Gibbs' main rival on the track and cup be some like militant atheist, just to see the contrast between the two. I'd feel like that would be amazing.
Got
to
the
watch.
holy wars on track. Well, I mean, that was the Xfinity race. If we had more time, we could dive into it deeper. But really, the truck races were maybe the biggest controversy from Saturday. It really lied. Early in the race, Haley Deegan, she was out of the race lap or before the end of stage one. She got kind of doored on the back straightaway, cut a tire down, caught on fire. And I'm sure many of you have seen her YouTube video that has up over 500,000 views at this point. You guys, Danny, I know Danny was, I don't know about Darian. You guys were there in person to kind of see the aftermath. How intense was that? Because it sounded intense.
I'll tell you what I saw. I obviously didn't know what was happening with her truck. But watching her video back, it sounds like there was like essentially leftover tire carcass somewhere in there just burning the whole time she was out there driving. Nothing they could do. It didn't just spread to be a bigger fire. She inhaled a lot of smoke, and also some of the extinguisher chalk got into her mouth. Essentially, the smoke was going up into her helmet. It sounded like she was basically choking on smoke and then fire extinguisher. That's what ended up happening to her. When I saw her go by in a medical cart, she was having a full-blown panic attack, just an absolute anxiety attack.
Well, she's probably just catching her breath is what it looked like in the video.
She looked to be in definite pain. I'll say that. She was definitely not right. I mean, she was okay, but she wasn't, if that makes any sense. And then she declined interview after the race. Not from me. I didn't ask anything, but she declined interview from Fox. Mainly just because she couldn't talk. Yeah, that's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a real shame too. I mean, like now she's in a situation this weekend where she has to qualify into the COTA race.
To defend her a little bit, that whole situation wasn't necessarily her fault.
No.
There was nothing she could have done in that case.
It's just unfortunate. Like this year, still, there's a lot of expectations on her this year. Entering the 2022 season, there's been some talks. Oh, when will she be running the Xfinity series? In my opinion, that shouldn't even be a thought right now, dude. She needs to,
get some top fives in trucks.
Yeah, top fives, top tens in trucks.
She needs to make it to the end of she needs to make it to the end of stage one. She hasn't done that in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah. And granted, this weekend wasn't her fault and stuff, but again, it's been such an awful start to her season thus far that this weekend, I mean, she's so below in the owner standing, she has to qualify for the COTA race. She's not automatically locked in, and we'll see. We'll definitely see where it goes from here and stuff. But again, she already has a ton of expectations this year. But she has to finish races. Simple as that.
Well, and I've seen and again, not all of it is her fault either. But at the same time, you do kind of put. I'm not saying obviously it's not all her fault, like I said, but you do kind of put yourself in position either to be away from problems happening, or in position to be where problems happen. And he qualifies better. I don't think he's in that position. Or she's in that position, I should say. I think that overall she needs to improve on all fronts with it. And, I see a lot of people being like, come on, give her, time, do this chance. And I'm like, well, I mean, would you send people in the chat, because there are going to be these comparisons, would you give Natalie Decker more time? Like if in these kind of positions, and would you give, I don't know, Stephen Wallace, like the different standards here with different drivers. And so I think that right now, like Darian said, she needs to stay in trucks until she can consistently compete. Because if you're going to be a superstar one day in the Cup Series, not very many people who go up through each rank and then are competitive in Cup, not very many of them are struggling to get top 10s, 15s, or 20s in the Truck Series. So
And we know the equipment's good because it's won races.
Yes.
Yeah, she's in a 10th place truck most weeks, running 18th to 22nd. You know, and that's fine. It was fine last year because for the most part last year she was finishing races, and with no practice or qualifying, she needed that track time. She needed that experience. And this year, unfortunately, outside of Daytona, she's had issues early at Vegas. She had issues early this week, and she's not getting as much seat time as she needs. There's nothing better than actual seat time in competition, and she's not getting much of that this year because, again, some of it's out of her hands. But like Jarrett said, I agree with you. You do put yourself in position to be more or less successful, to have a better chance of being in or out of trouble. So Hailie Deegan, yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, like obviously glad she's okay after that incident, but you know, you just want to see her run better.
I'll give her this though. Back to what you said about seat time, she did actually. She was fifth in practice actually, and that wasn't bad.
Superspeedway, but yeah.
Fifth in practice though, and I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I talked to Chase Caber a little bit.
Oh yeah. He
basically said like, you know, they're just kind of more bummed they didn't have the qualifying in this case because they got the practice in, but then they didn't have a chance to really properly see where they could have actually started, and she was forced to kind of try to come from the back.
You did get like the sense though, talking with Caber, he's like, yeah, there's going to be like some type of like.
He called it. He said it was going to be a mess. So
he said the race was going to be a mess and didn't expect to be out that early for that reason. But
he told me, he said he thinks it's going to be a mess. I don't think he expected it to be go that bad for her. He kind of more expected like they was just going to hang in the back to avoid the mess. Instead, they got it.
But overall,
she made her way up quick.
Yeah,
I mean, she was, I believe, like 16th or 17th when her problems started up. I'm not saying that she's, not saying she's a hack or anything like that. I think she is a very good driver. She's proved that she can stay out of trouble last year. There's something just right now is not clicking correctly.
Mojo,
I don't know what it would be.
But
that might be a tune.
Overall, though, the truck race, I mean, like, it was pretty entertaining too. I mean, especially the finish there. But I mean, let's talk about really quick. I mean, KBM right now, their whole team dynamic. I mean, Chandler Smith during the race
was very mad at the end of that.
He called out both teammates. I mean, like, there was one point during the run where he was like, saying on the radio, I'm not working with the 51 anymore because he left me out to dry, blah, 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 and stuff. And again, to add more context, he's from the state of Georgia, and so is Corey Heim. So it was a home race for both of them. And then you fast forward to the final laps there, specifically the last one there. I mean, look, I expected John Hunter Nemechek. I mean, he's 2 laps down. I expected him to help his teammate, but I was very shocked when he went with Corey Heim there. I just expected him to stay behind Chandler Smith, who was already leading. So I can understand Chandler Smith feeling some type of way after the race.
Well, Aaron Bearden, I think, noted it on Twitter that, the 51 Corey Heim's not running for a championship.
No.
Chandler Smith is. So if you're John Hunter Nemechek, might push Corey Heim to the win.
Good point. Yeah, good point there. Yeah. Good point.
I'm going to be real. Like, I think it's a bad move. I don't like that kind of move. I don't like when lap cars in any way
affect the race.
Affect the race, get in the middle of the finish. But I seem to remember an Atlanta race last year where a certain Kyle Busch got screwed by a lap car, and everyone cheered, and everyone was happy.
True.
And I came on here and got roasted by the chat for saying that it was wrong, and now all of a sudden, it's different now. Like,
yeah,
I love the hypocrisy for each drivers and double standards. When it comes to how the fans view it, I was against it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think it was dirty. I think John Hunter Nemechek should have pulled down to the apron, let the pack go by. Like, how many spots would he have lost if the main lead lap?
I don't think he would have lost any. He was already 2 laps down.
He was not 1 lap down, 2.
He went. I just find it funny. He just went out of his way. Like, yeah, he was helping a teammate, but he was helping like the teammate that isn't running for a championship.
And I see people be like, "Well, it's different when it's someone holding the line versus blocking," and it's like it's different when it's the last 10 laps. Like,
my whole thing
is the same thing.
My whole thing is, what if it was Kyle Busch in that truck instead? Would he have done the same thing?
Well, he might have pushed somebody differently, but he might have just pulled out. Like, Kyle Busch would have said the truck was killed and would have already been in the garage. Like, he would still be out there. Well, my thing, I'm consistent.
Victor Lane say it's killed.
I'm pretty consistent on this. I never really have an issue with anyone doing anything when they're like teammates helping teammates when they're lap down. Like, I don't love it, but I don't go out of my way to like slam it. Like, I don't think it's the way I see it is, why the hell at 3rd place let John Hunter Nemechek in line? Like, why were you not able to fill that gap? How were you in a line so slow that Nemechek could slip up in front of you and fill that spot. Like, in my opinion, at a track like this, like, that's on you. If you let Nemechek sneak into third, that's on you. You can hate Nemechek for getting involved. Obviously, Chandler Smith did. Drivers do seem to view this very differently. Chandler Smith seemed adamant that if your lap's down, you do not get involved. I understand that perspective, but I'm just very indifferent. I was indifferent when the Ganassi cars did it at the end of last season. I was indifferent when Logano helped Blaney beat Larson. I was indifferent to the Kyle Busch thing at Atlanta. I'm pretty indifferent most of the time when lap cars get involved, as long as they're not actively going out and wrecking people. Like when Newman blocked De Benedetto and they made contact at Bristol, like, that was crossing a line, in my opinion. Obviously, you can argue Chase Elliott running into Harvick was crossing the line at Bristol. Harvick perhaps had something coming, but as long as you're not wrecking a guy, I'm indifferent to lap cars.
I'm going to poke the bear here.
What?
Matt Kenseth 2015?
No, I didn't like. At the time I was a blind Matt Kenseth fan, but I didn't like. I've said it. I didn't like that he did that. I wouldn't have done
I
it.
have since changed my mind.
I'm having some fun with it.
I think it was more
I agree.
justified than some said. I don't think it's as justified as some said. Some said, oh yeah, Logano entirely had it coming. I don't believe that, but I think Logano certainly had some sort of retaliation. I think all of Penske had some sort of retaliation coming. I just want to make sure my stance is clear on that, so you Matt Kenseth haters don't come for me. But
Eric, look what Danny's pulling out. It's for later.
I'm so terrified. Didn't win a championship that year. That's all that matters. Anyway, moving on. I meant to won the war. Well, they have the same number of championships, and Matt still got more wins. That's all that matters. Real quick, we spent almost an hour. We spent a full hour. Well, actually, we had Alfredo on for the first 15 minutes, but we've spent a lot of time talking about Atlanta. Before we fully get off Atlanta, I do want to thank the NASCAR Weekly Podcast first sponsor of the night. Moby is here. I know we don't have our hats. It's been very warm lately. I do have their all new beard shimmer here in the flesh, in the metal. I don't know. It glows. I still love that. It looks
glows.
beautiful.
It looks like a Tron movie.
It really does. It's very futuristic. But Moby's all new beard trimmer is responsible for this super clean beard you have right here. Oh, Danny's got that. Beautiful.
Yeah, he's got that.
That looks great. That looks sharp. But you can find Moby at
Danny talks polo.
It looks fantastic. You can find Moby at Walmart near you. You can click the link down in the description below to see where they're in stock. Make sure they're in stock before you go check them out. You can also shop Moby's wide line of products at Walmart on walmart.com. But this beard trimmer features an adjustable 5-step guide for perfect hair length. It's super easy to use. It comes with a charging stand. It's fully waterproof. It's even got this scrubber right here, this face scrubber built in. It's like the Swiss Army knife of beard trimmers. Be sure to check out Moby. And thank you to Moby for sponsoring the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Before we completely get off Atlanta, we touched on this earlier, but last thing. How do we feel about Marcus Smith's entertainment comments? He said that NASCAR is a sports entertainment business. How do we feel about that?
Look, I me personally, I'll just speak from my perspective here. I think there definitely has to be a balance. Like, yes, at the end of the day, it is a business. You do want, a lot of people to show up to your events, yada, yada, yada. You want it to be entertaining. I get all that. So I do get, them trying this whole Atlanta thing and stuff like that. They've been very upfront about it. They want more pack racing, so this is their way of getting, more, pack races to the schedule. Okay, fine. So be it. But at the same time, this is still motorsports. Okay. You still need your talent-based tracks. And I'm not saying these packed, these super speedways aren't talent based, but again, it's obvious there is no off throttle time. You can just, stay in the draft, you can stay up front, all that stuff. And, there's more of a chance for first time winners. So that's entertaining on that side of things, but also motorsports fans also find entertainment in just, straight up, pure racing. So, leave these 1.5 miles alone. Okay. We don't need to do this. And again, like Ross Chastain said, let's not, bring tracks like Kentucky back to life. It's just, they're dead. It's dead and gone. Keep it 6 feet under. Those were his words, not mine there. So again, I do believe that. Yeah, exactly. I do believe that, yes, in motorsports, specifically NASCAR, yes, there has to be some form of entertainment. All right. So this will be, the new Atlanta, while, it is entertaining, again, the pure racing fan in me does miss Atlanta, but I do understand why they did it though. So just find the balance, keep the balance with it.
Maybe Jarrett and Darian can agree with me. Eric hasn't had a chance to go see it yet. NASCAR is not sports entertainment, but SRX,
it's
I would lean towards that as closer to racing's version of sports entertainment. We we honestly straight up saw Ray Evernham talking behind the scenes get Bill Elliott out of this car because he was going to be much slower compared to Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
He gave Tony Stewart's car to him because Stewart had the fastest car in practice.
So, yeah.
Like, so I think the thing that people have to do is clearly draw a line into what we're talking about. I'm not going to go over every single thing about it, but NASCAR, by being a sport in racing, is by definition entertainment.
Exactly.
So, but that's not. I don't feel like that's the debate that's being had. I think the debate that's being had is a lot of people. I think I kind of fall into this group are kind of nervous, and I said it earlier that NASCAR's version and SMI's version of entertainment is packing them close together and seeing if they crash some more so we can draw people in. If that's what we're talking about for entertainment, no, I don't want to do that necessarily unless it comes relatively organically. Racing is inherently entertaining. I maybe this is me being a longtime racing fan, but I will never for the life of me understand whether it's F1, IndyCar, or NASCAR, NHRA, no matter what it is, how people cannot be interested in people pushing the absolute limits of both themselves and machine. I can't see how people, when it comes to like NASCAR, can't be entertained at least in some way to see drivers holding on the edge of control when pretty much no one else in the world can do it. That's where I stand on it. I personally think that they need to stop saying the phrase, because the phrase itself, like, I don't think that what they're wanting to do is as crazy as, even probably I think it is. I think what it is that phrase immediately is like this big red flag in a bunch of people's heads, and it cuts everyone off. It's the same thing as the number placement. It's like I said last year with the number placement, they should have done what eBay did, where they went from a yellow background to a white background. They change it every single day. They move the numbers like that. If you're going to change stuff to be more entertainment based, don't go outright and tell everyone about it. Slowly but surely do it, and more fans will be open to it if that's what they're going to do. Overall, though, stop talking about it.
That's I wholeheartedly agree. From a branding perspective, I just think the moment you call yourself sports entertainment, that's where the WWE comparisons come in.
Yep.
And it's not a good comparison.
Exactly. You said best. NASCAR is nowhere close to WWE. Even the SRX isn't quite where WWE is. Like, there is no comparison there, but when you put those words together, people draw those comparisons. And I think that is bad for business. Like you said, Jared, race cars are inherently interesting and entertaining to most people, and you shouldn't have to go out of your way to call yourself entertaining. The moment you do that, people look for an ulterior motive. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think you said it best.
SMI definitely should not be doing that because, heck, one of their tracks, Bristol Motor Speedway, their slogan is "Racing the way it ought to be." That's,
I haven't heard that slogan. Is that Bristol has so many slogans?
That's a Bristol slogan. Well, it's Bristol, baby, but no, their real slogan, I think, is the "Racing the way it ought to be."
I mean, I agree with them, but geez, Bristol's got a lot of slogans. That's what I'm learning tonight. Last Great Coliseum, World's Fastest Half Mile, Thunder Valley. Like, geez, Louise,
they're gonna run out of some soon. Just keep repeating them.
The dirty, muddy, slinging good time.
I haven't heard that one yet.
That's a new one.
That sounds like a Talladega infield.
Well, on that note, we finally made it to the halfway point, and I do want to highlight some of these super chats that we've gotten. You guys can start a 3-minute timer, but I'm going to go and jump in. Before we even went live, Kyle3000 dropped a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Marcus Lemonis is wearing out his welcome, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just bummed they got rid of the hunting section at Camping World. Anyway, see you at COTA. We haven't heard much from Lemonis so far.
Yeah, we haven't heard much.
I tell you what, I want to hear from him, though, because I want to see him giving away one of those RVs. I want to be in the running for one of the things again.
I love this name. Twisted Nipples 82 dropped a 5 super chat. Greatest moment of the weekend, and he says it was Joseph and Bradley in the Xfinity Series booth.
Hey.
No wonder there was tension if that's how my coworkers addressed me.
Say that name again, please.
I'm not going to say it again. People can clip it and watch it on repeat. From Tyler Dotson. Hey, guys, I know this is a NASCAR podcast, but Darian, who's your early F1 World Championship pick? Now, excuse me while I go cry about my McLarens here.
Oh, dude, yeah, McLaren, I don't know what's up with them, bro. They got to get their stuff together. But anyways, I mean, first off, shout out to Haas F1 getting their first big points. That's a big deal. But I'm really liking Ferrari. I mean, again, only one race in, but I mean, they've been all of the preseason talk so far amongst fans and teams as being title contenders again. Hey, maybe Charles Leclerc can bring Ferrari a championship again.
Jared Sanders says, hey, Tony Pasta, Anthony Alfredo, good to see you again. From GN, I thought this was actually very clever, but he says, if you've seen The Incredibles, there's an amazing quote in it, when everyone's super, no one will be. Exactly my thoughts on more super speedways. I love it. Any Incredibles reference that actually makes sense in racing context.
That's a good one.
That's like my two loves right there. Thank you, GN. Thank you, Bruce Morgan, as well. Bought my first die-cast, all Geyer's door bumper clear Xfinity car. Gold bar would have been cheaper. Are they also expensive? Oh, I see. So if you're new to collecting die-cast, how much do they go for now? 60, 70 bucks typically?
About $80 shipped probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you ship them, that's true. And you never know. I don't know what the special cars like a one-off like door.
Look on eBay for cheap ones though. Look on eBay.
Or check out vendor tips at tracks.
Used one.
Yes.
Thank you, Octane Gamer. Do you guys think that a package change would be a better idea than an elevation change for Atlanta, given the past events before the renovation? Like if they just,
I don't really know.
if they
I'm
haven't
not sure.
reconfigured the track and just changed the package. I don't know. I think they got what they wanted and it put butts in seats. That's all I know. Yeah. Thank you, Alex Vivieros, for the 10. I know she had a horrible weekend, but happy Deegan was okay. I think she was breathing in carbon monoxide in her suit, but in her vlog was burnt a bit, so glad she's okay. Yeah, we've just mentioned that her vlog definitely details the scary moments there. Tanner Johnson, thank you for the 10. Do you think NASCAR will go back to victory lane interviews instead of front stretch interviews? What are your thoughts on that? I think most of us prefer victory lane over front stretch interviews. Yeah, I prefer
victory lane.
I don't know if they're ever going to go back, but I would welcome it. Mad Money 25. TBH Atlanta would have been a much better race if Chevy didn't overcompensate with the camber and cause all the tire failures. Hope to see you at COTA, Eric. I hope to see you as well.
That is true. Yeah, one of the Goodyear executives was talking to the media during some parts of the race, and he basically had to clarify to some of the media, hey, it's not our fault. It's like that's Chevy's fault there. That's why the tires keep
Goodyear doing what they have to do. Well, last one real quick from Ethan, because we already answered it. Who do you guys think will win the F1 World Championship? Darian, you might be buying Ferrari already.
Leclerc.
All right, okay. Well, that'll do it for this first half of Super Chats. The second half of Super Chats, all remaining Super Chats, will be read at the very end of the show. But speaking of diecast, we do have to thank our next NASCAR Weekly podcast sponsor. I saw you already teasing me with it earlier, Danny, but Lionel Racing is here, the official diecast of NASCAR. You can order your favorite drivers' 2022 next-gen diecast right now at lionelracing.com or at an authorized Lionel retailer. And if you're in the neighborhood and you're at your local Walmart, be sure to check out Lionel Racing's latest NASCAR Authentics wave. My Walmart just recently restocked. I picked up, I think you can see it behind me somewhere, Bubba Wallace, Dr. Pepper Zero car. I see you've got a Dr. Pepper car there, Darian. Who? That's not Bubba Wallace. Who is that in that one right there?
Yes, the original Dr. Pepper 23. Yep, OGs remember this. And wow, 2014 is such, it's been so long since 2014.
Those Camrys back then looked weird.
Yeah,
too.
It feels like it was just yesterday to me. But anyways, the 2014 edition, Alex Bowman, rookie car from that season, driving for BK Racing in the Dr. Pepper 23. Back before he started winning races, he was like trying his best to get inside the top 30 in this car. From humble beginnings to one of the best teams in NASCAR, rags to riches, the true Alex Bowman story. But you gotta love this car too, especially like it's also aged better too, since Dr. Pepper did come back with the 23, just in a much different form.
On a Toyota too.
Yeah, and same manufacturer and everything too. So, but Alex Bowman, gotta love the Hacks original scheme.
So he's got the 23. I'm going to go a number just below him. I've got, actually, this is Joey Logano, and it's hard to tell it on this webcam, but it's actually his dirt Bristol win. So there's actually
there's some dirt.
There's a few scuffs on it, there's some dirt effects, dirt on the windshield even. I mean, it's a pretty good looking replica of the dirt Bristol car, and that'll be the next race for me. We'll be giving you guys, just like we did at Atlanta, a good inside look at the dirt Bristol race. So check out Danny B Talks for that in a few weeks.
Hell yeah.
I got Jeff Burton's old 31 Prilosec car. And this has always been one of my favorites just because you don't get to see many purple cars out there. And, well, let's be real, with how Brad Keselowski has done this year, we should at least have one fast purple car on this podcast.
Oh, no.
So
he usually ran good when he had that Prilosec paint.
Yeah, he won Texas 07.
The purple number on a purple base is an interesting choice. It looks good.
They had enough white with the lightning to make it stand out, though.
Yeah, I always love this one. Actually, people don't remember it, but the one I love more than this one was when Clinton Boyer had it in 2009, I believe, at Auto Club. He had that scheme. I don't know why. I always liked it better on the 33 than the 31, but either way, awesome scheme.
Interesting. Well, they're racing in Texas this weekend, so I had to pull out Texas Terry Labonte's, Kellogg's, Cornflakes number 5 right here. Manny 18KB says that he has the exact same Terry Labonte diecast.
Is that from
as well.
96?
Yeah, what year is that from?
I actually don't remember the year. This was sent to me. Eyeballing it, I would guess it's 96.
It might say on the bottom. It might say on like
It doesn't
That's what I was
have
checking.
the actual headlights, so I'm going to say it's definitely pre-98.
I for some reason thought it was 96 or 97.
because 96, that was the year he won the championship. Yeah, if you can't find it, it's all good. But it
I
looks
believe
similar.
that says 97, but it's old and it's faded.
Oh.
This was sent to me last year when I had my P.O. box open, so it sits very nicely on my shelf. Love representing Texas drivers, but of course we also love representing Lionel Racing. They are the official diecast of NASCAR, and we love having them as an official partner of the NASCAR Weekly podcast. Now, Darian, do you feel that changing temperature in the air? A front moving in, something a little suspicious?
Yeah, colder here.
As it got a little colder, I feel it. And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jared, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Well, let's roll through this here. We got some, not much, but a lot of big stuff here. Marcus Smith has also said, on top of all his entertainment comments, that he does not see a possibility of cup racing at North Wilkesboro, according to NBC Sports. Andy Lally will drive the Live Fast 78 car at COTA. Bob Pockris reported this. And then this season has been the quickest amount of races for every one of the 36 chartered teams to score a top 20 since the agreement's inception.
Wow.
Adam Stern reported that F1 is eyeing November for its Las Vegas race next year.
Ooh.
Alex Bowman will drive the number 7 Spire truck at COTA this weekend, according to Jim Utter. Bubba Wallace will be driving the number 18 JGR Xfinity at COTA and at the Indy Road Course. Raja Karuth will be doing the first of his 6 races at Richmond in the Xfinity Series next weekend. And, well, let's stick with 6 here. Jimmie Johnson finished 6th at Texas, which is his first IndyCar top 10. And that was pretty fun to watch.
That was a quick lightning round right there. And the lightning round, as always, before Darian blows our eardrums out. Sorry, Darian, didn't mean to cut you off there. But the lightning round is always sponsored by Forney Industries. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and much more. Great for do-it-yourselfers or if you're a professional metal worker. Forney has everything you need for your next project. You can shop Forney's top-of-the-line products at Forney-Ind for short, forneyind.com, or you can find them at an authorized Forney dealer near you. Now, Darian, please blow our eardrums out. Please, I'm begging for it.
That'll do it for the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
Goodness gracious. The pain felt so good, so good. Speaking of Jimmie...
How's that sound in person, though?
Nah, it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
I'm really just playing it up by doing this.
Downey B acting. Very nice, very nice. Well, speaking of Jimmie Johnson, actually, I want to elaborate on that a little bit. He finished 6th at Texas this weekend in an Indy car, actually looked competitive, looked like a contender. And I saw a few people talking about this. Does this mean Jimmie Johnson is an actual threat to win the Indianapolis 500 this year?
No.
What?
No.
Look, it's I'll give it a maybe
What
right now.
that was.
Look,
I said a threat. I didn't say he's your pick. I said, is he a threat?
Well,
No.
here's my thing.
I think he'll get a top 10, but they ain't a threat.
Oh, if he's in the top 10, he's a threat.
Yeah, no. But my thing is I said this before the start of the IndyCar season. You know, since he was running full time, I did mention that I truly believe that he will definitely podium on at least one oval this year. Now, which one? I don't know yet. I mean, Indy could perhaps be, he could perhaps be a threat there. We'll have to wait and see how he does throughout the entirety of the month of May. Yeah, I mean, like, yes, it is awesome. He did, finish 6th on an oval in IndyCar and stuff too. This is, as a matter of fact, his best ever IndyCar finish, I believe.
By a lot wide margin.
It's promising, but hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Let's see how he does during the month of May and all the practice sessions, qualifying, and all that stuff, and then we can come to that decision if he is going to be a true threat.
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Jarrett.
He looked more competitive for sure in this race because, again, I'm not like a diehard IndyCar fan by any means, but I watch majority of the races, and I mean, we can also attest to being there last year at Indianapolis. He's not been competitive, and I'm not going to say that he was like a threat to win during that race, like unless strategy stepped in, but he was definitely a top 10 guy. He was passing like guys that are up front on a regular basis based off of competitiveness, not based off of strategy. So I would say if he can stay, out of trouble at Indy and he can maybe be on the right strategy, he could definitely be a threat. But I think that if we're talking serious favorites or serious threats in this race, I still don't see him being there yet. But I mean, I think we'll see him on the broadcast more than just Jimmie Johnson's running 2 laps down. I think we'll see him on the lead lap, top 10 threat, like Danny said. And you know what? If he's in the top 10, those closing laps, you never know what could happen at Indy. I mean, look at 2011. He could have a shot. If I'm giving a percentage shot, I'm not going above 1% yet, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. I look at it as the month of May is a long month. He's going to get a lot of seat time. I saw David Land tweeting today that there may only be like one driver or team going home on bump day, so a good chance he makes the field. That's always a question, especially with the Fernando Alonso debacle a couple years ago. Like, he's got to make the race first, but he's going to have a good car, and as long as he doesn't slip up and wreck, which is very easy to do at Indy.
I think he'll have no problem making the race.
Exactly. Yeah. If he's in the race, I'm with you, Jarrett. He wouldn't be one of my top 10 picks, but I think he's got a shot. He's not like going to just ride around out there. He's not going to be an afterthought. I think he will have, going into May, he has a chance. A great chance, maybe not, but a chance. And I think that's alone is a decent storyline, especially if you're a NASCAR fan who doesn't watch a lot of IndyCar. I think it'll be fun to tune in during May just for that storyline alone. I hope he delivers. I really do. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. I appreciate you guys humoring me there. Earlier this week, NASCAR and a different motorsport series, not IndyCar, but IMSA, which NASCAR does technically own, they made a pretty major announcement. I already forgot what day it was. It was at the
last Thursday.
End of last week. Yeah, it was Thursday. But Hendrick Motorsports will be fielding a next-gen car at next year's 24 Hours of Le Mans in France. So Hendrick Motorsports is bringing a Chevrolet car there. They haven't said who will drive that thing yet. There are a lot of questions about how modified will this car be, because NASCAR has strict testing rules, and I think every other team will look very awkwardly at this deal if they're able to bring a real NASCAR-ready car there to test or to race. That seems a bit unfair. We also don't know what drivers will be allowed. Will they be allowed to run Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott or William Byron? All that stuff will be announced at a later date. Right now, what we know is that this is expected to be a Garage 56 entry, which is typically a spot reserved for cars or teams that are trying to push the technological envelope, trying to be innovative in some way. It's more of an exhibition slot on the grid. You're not really racing against any of the other classes. You're really just racing against yourself. But Hendrick said that their plan is to go there and be competitive. So this will be the first time we've seen a NASCAR car race at Le Mans since 1976. So how do you guys feel about this? First and foremost, it's a great opportunity for NASCAR to make some waves on the world stage and debut their still very new race car. Like, Danny, go ahead. What are your first thoughts about this announcement?
I was just going to say, like, one of the biggest things that stood out to me, I don't know if Rick Hendrick was kidding about this or not, but he literally said, apparently he said, we're going to put Gordon on a diet to get him back to being able to drive. So it sounds like they might actually have Jeff Gordon, slated to be at least one of their drivers, which cool. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing.
And also, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them go after a pure road course guy like a Ron Fells or a Boris said.
Bring back someone who's familiar, because, to coming from NASCAR, bring back someone who has the availability. I mean, couldn't do a Juan Pablo. He's already kind of committed to other things.
What about an Andy Lally?
Maybe? Andy Lally, maybe. I wouldn't even mind finding Marcus Ambrose. What's he up to these days?
The thing for me that I'm more excited rather than thinking of what drivers, again, I'm excited for driver speculation. I'm cool with any reckless speculation. But the thing that I'm excited for is the fact that NASCAR, again, this, say what you want about the people who are, running it and in charge, but this new kind of regime in charge of NASCAR has really done its best to reach out across the board to other motorsport series, whether it's IMSA, like one they own, but still a major race in a different country, whether it's IndyCar, whatever. I'm excited for the fact that you're going to have an entirely new base of people who are going to be opened up in some way, exposed to more NASCAR. And I think a lot of people who probably wouldn't keep track of the next gen or wouldn't keep track of how far NASCAR race cars have come compared to where they were even a year ago. That's what I'm excited about, because I think, NASCAR is something that primarily focuses on American audiences. It's the bread and butter of this sport's audiences, but expanding to show the rest of the world more of what you have to offer. I think especially with the way that everything is going global, and you see a lot of sports leagues and racing leagues do this right now, I think that's the way to go for the future. So I think it's NASCAR in a way taking a huge step. And that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for what this means past 2023.
I second that, and I want them to focus on the exhibition side of things. When it comes to drivers, I know we mentioned a lot of really interesting and very talented and competitive names, but I hope they go with, at the very least, a Jeff Gordon or a Jimmie Johnson. Obviously, it's going to be a group of drivers. It's a 24-hour race, theoretically, so you're going to have multiple drivers, but I do hope this is an opportunity for maybe an active NASCAR star or two to go overseas and shine. Like I don't, like, Marcus Ambrose might be faster than Chase Elliott in this car, but I'd rather see an active NASCAR star race in it, because I think that would look better for NASCAR on the world stage. But what I'm also interested in is the innovation side of things. This car is going to have to be different than a normal next-gen car, but I think this is going to be an opportunity for NASCAR to test out a new engine package, probably a hybrid component or whatever, the kind of thing they've been talking about for 2 or 3 years now that we're going to see maybe 2 or 3 years down the line in the Cup Series. This will be a great opportunity for them to test that. I have a feeling that's what this Garage 56 entry is going to allow them to do.
And don't anyone else think about tweeting Bob. It has lights.
Yeah, and also too, I want to point out, Denny delivers in the chat. He says, "Get Matt Damon. He already ran one and has experience from that one movie." Remember?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I agree with everything you said, Jared. I think I don't expect NASCAR to go run a car at Le Mans and then attract a bunch of fans in Europe. I don't expect a bunch of European fans to be like, "Oh, they're racing at Richmond this weekend. I guess I'll tune in on whatever Richmond, channel it is." But it's more of an ego thing. It's to remind the FIA, to remind the world that, hey, NASCAR. I don't actually know where NASCAR lines up on the pecking order, the worldwide. Formula One's got to be at the top as far as popularity. NASCAR's got to be second or third, right? I don't know. V8 supercars are big in Australia. I don't know what kind of ratings they get. But like NASCAR's got to be on that podium somewhere. Remind the rest of the world that NASCAR exists and that NASCAR has innovated in recent years.
It goes back to the whole argument we were having earlier about, sports entertainment, the fact that people like to watch NASCAR crashes. If I see foreigners usually reacting to NASCAR, it's usually a YouTube video reacting to NASCAR crashes.
That's like a huge
another
trend.
way to expose the sport. Yeah,
I've seen that was like a huge trend, especially last year. I'd see them in my recommend all the time. Like Brazilian reacts to NASCAR crashes. Switzerland guy reacts to NASCAR. Like,
don't know what it is.
Antarctica.
Crashes,
Penguins react to NASCAR crashes. I was like, what's going on? It's very common, but. Well,
yeah, my only hope is they don't take a whole off week in the schedule next year. That's something I hear a lot of people are bringing up.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Like this is a huge deal. And I think a lot of NASCAR fans have pushed that aside way too much and been like, oh, whatever. It's just that long race they do over there. Like, no, it's bigger than that. But at the same time, NASCAR should not sacrifice, especially what will be early season momentum, because that is what really pushes the NASCAR season when it comes to how many people watch and whatever. That I don't think NASCAR should do anything like that and basically just stop the season for an exhibition race for one car.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. I know Denny Hamlin, I don't remember exactly what he tweeted, but the fact that NASCAR went to Hendrick Motorsports specifically about doing this, it sounded like Hamlin, I don't know, he made noises on Twitter as though he was a little miffed by that. Like, well, Toyota didn't even get asked. Ford probably thinking the same thing. We didn't even get asked. So, like, I wonder if there's going to be some resentment there that Hendrick's getting this opportunity. Obviously, it's work for them, money for them, but
wish that they would have a representative from all manufacturers, honestly. I think that would be more fair.
A neutral next-gen car.
The biggest thing I've seen people compare is, like, Hendrick already has this track attack program that essentially
True.
gives them a way to test road course engines as it is.
See, I think though, if you're gonna trust one team to represent your sport, like
Hendrick makes sense.
I'm gonna trust Hendrick.
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, Hendrick. Yeah.
I mean, they've won 2 straight championships. I mean,
And
get
you
good,
can argue-
Toyota. Get good,
And
Ford.
you can argue, since coming into NASCAR, I mean, I've seen a lot of people make this comparison that Hendrick Motorsports really introduced the way that modern NASCAR teams run, that they introduced F1 aspects to the shop. I mean, I've seen so many people say that over the years about him. So it's like Hendrick Motorsports is the team to do this with. It's not about kissing up to the most popular team or the most popular drivers or anything like that. I think it's just, if you're going to have a representative for NASCAR, you might as well have the best team for the last 40 years.
Exactly. I think that's fair. If Toyota complains, look at the scoreboard. Like, that's all you got to do, you know. But well, on that note, I think it's a great opportunity for NASCAR to, again, make some waves on the world stage. That's going to be pretty cool. Again, that's over a year away, so we got plenty of time to predict and speculate.
As NASCAR fans, I'll just ask you guys, money is no option. You can afford it if you want to. Would you go if you had the chance to see this?
Yeah.
I'm actually considering it.
Wow. Okay, that's shocking to hear. But if money was no object, yes, I would go. Money is very much an object getting from here to France. So
Again, it's a consideration, but I just know that people in my family have also been wanting to get over there to Europe too. So
It would
like,
be a
let's
good
just
excuse
group it together.
it would be a good excuse to travel over there. I mean, I've never traveled overseas, but
We can get some French croissants.
got to update my passport.
Yeah, I gotta do that too.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if everything were to line up, I sure as hell will do it. Like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Why not?
I feel like you would look so funny vacationing in France, Jared. I feel like all of us would. We'd all look really goofy. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I'm pretty sure I'd get scammed. Like something that equates to $1 I'd be spending 20 on.
don't go to the beaches, Jared. You might see more than you're bargaining for.
I mean, I could bring my girlfriend. She speaks French, so I won't. I at least won't get ripped off.
hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, speaking of road course racing, we got to talk about Circuit of the Americas this weekend. NASCAR is returning to Austin for just the second year in a row. Weather looks a lot better, but there is a triple header this weekend, beginning with the truck race, the XPEL 225. It's only a 42 lap race, but this is a big track. I think almost 4 miles in length. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern start time on Saturday. Race will be on FS1 radio, MRN. Todd Gilliland won this race last year, but I don't believe he is not in the field this week.
Nope.
The Xfinity race will be immediately afterwards. It's 48 laps. This is the Pit Boss 250 that our boy Anthony Alfredo will be competing in. This race begins at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, also on FS1. This one's on PRN. Of course, Speedway Motorsports sort of leasing COTA this weekend, so PRN has the radio coverage. The weather on Saturday looks great. 0% chance of rain. It's a little warm. 87 degrees is the high. It'll be sunny. Great weather expected for Xfinity and trucks. It's going to be a little toasty, but put these drivers to the test. Kyle Busch won the Xfinity race last year. He's not in the Xfinity race this year. He is in the truck race, however. We will be making our picks here in just a few moments. The Cup race then on Sunday is 68 laps. It's the Echo Park Automotive Texas Grand Prix. Mouthful for sure. 3:30 p.m. Eastern time start. Once again on Fox. 6th race of the year. All 6 have been on Big Fox. PRN has the radio coverage. Again, fairly warm, 84 degrees, sunny and partly cloudy, no chance of rain, so we likely will not have the same debacle on the backstretch that we had last year. We probably won't need single file restarts this week. That's all that says. Yeah. Chase Elliott won last year's race. Of course, last year's race was rain shortened. Darian, do you have the betting odds? Who are the favorites? Who does Vegas have as the favorites this week?
Oh, yeah. So Vegas Insider, they're very upfront about who both of their favorites are. So entering this weekend at plus 250 to win the race, Chase Elliott, he is clearly the favorite, but not too far behind is Kyle Larson at plus 300. So Vegas Insider definitely feels that either Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott have the best shot at winning, because in third place is Martin Truex Jr., but he's at plus 1,000. So they are really high on Chase Elliott
If
and
you're
Larson.
wanting to bet, you ain't gonna make much money off of Elliott and Larson.
Yeah, definitely not. And Vegas Insider, they know, like, okay, like they're dominant, so let's put them at this. And then in fourth is Kyle Busch, also at plus 1,000. And then Chase Briscoe rounds out the top 5 at plus 1,400. Now, as for the best of the rest, here are my 3. AJ Allmendinger enters this weekend at plus 1,400. Austin Cindric not too far behind at plus 1,600. And William Byron at plus 1,800. Now, for my favorite part of this segment, the underdogs. Alex Bowman enters this weekend at plus 3,000. Tyler Reddick plus 5,000. Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick both plus 7,000 apiece. And finally, my biggest underdog out of these 5, freaking Daniel Suarez enters this weekend at plus 20,000. 20,000. Dude.
Real
Did
quick.
you happen to look up Ross Chastain too?
He was actually plus 5,000.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because he got like 3rd or 4th here last year.
Yeah, so I mean, but yeah, if you want to make money, those are your best guys to make money
Hey,
off of.
real quick, I want to bring this up between segments here. This is from Adam Stern right now. Apparently F1 is actually contacted Netflix and is telling them to cut out all of their sensationalism and Drive to Survive so the F1 drivers don't revolt like they're about to.
Yes, yeah, that's good. That's good because, dude, that was a huge problem in season 4. A lot of dumb manufacturer drama and stuff.
I wanted to bring that up because I know we always talk about Drive to Survive.
No, that's good.
NASCAR,
I'm glad they did. Yeah, because
bringing that up.
Because one of the stories was what's his name? Checo. He drives for for Red Bull. Yeah, Perez. Yeah, he basically filmed a thing for Netflix or whatever, and they basically cut it out. That was all that time wasted. So I definitely see why they're definitely speaking up about that. But yeah, let's move on.
I thought you were about to drop a Stern bomb that they are running the Vegas race the same weekend as the Cup Championship in Phoenix.
Would be crazy.
That would suck for NASCAR if they ran their race just one state over. Oh, well.
But anyway, what do we got with the Fantasy League, Darian?
Oh, yes, the Fantasy League. This week, Trevor Sports 98 extended his points lead to nearly 1,000. He currently has 998 points. In second with 943 points is UGR2. Third place is 48 Nation with 337. In fourth, Bubba Sports Mania Talk with 934. And rounding out the top 5 is Dawson Siren 9 with 931. And here are some other guys who are the best of the rest. My mom is still hovering inside the top 20 in 19th, so not bad.
She's always good.
Danny B. Wife, a.k.a. Claudia, is currently 25th, and Blue Jimmie 48 fan, 36, and I am currently holding up the 49th spot. And also Danny Delivers is in 42nd. Still got a long way to go, but got to improve here pretty soon.
Speaking of Claudia, she just mentioned in the chat, Jarrett understands the struggles of sunscreen not being allowed in the track.
Yeah.
Oh, God, wasn't that at COTA last year?
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
They took it away.
Thanks for reminding me. I forgot they had a pile of sunscreen that they wouldn't allow, like, by security. Fans going to the COTA this weekend, they might do that again. That was bullshit. What the hell was that?
Again, you can't tell because of the lighting in here, but I am bad sunburned from Atlanta.
I feel like there could be like a class action lawsuit against Circuit of the Americas for not allowing sunscreen in Texas.
Skin cancer.
Yeah, like what that?
If you have melanoma, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
That's one of the most confusing like rules I think I've ever seen.
Jarrett was so pissed as soon as they took it away. He was just like, "Well, what the fuck?
How? What am I gonna do with this?"
Yeah,
I'm honestly glad that Claudia reminded me of that. I gotta remember that this weekend. But anyway, we're all burnt. I don't know if anyone in the chat noticed, but I have this photo that we took at COTA last year. Jarrett, P1. I don't mean to point it out.
That's P1, baby.
Darian was P1. Jarrett over here, though.
But Eric's still taller.
His shorts were not the reddest thing in this photo. I don't know if you can tell, but anyway.
It wasn't if I couldn't have helped it.
It was COTA's fault.
But damn, Eric, like, dude, you're on the lowest podium. I mean, you're still taller than us, bro.
Can I make this closer? Yeah. I'm huge. God damn. I'm wearing the same shirt.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's right. Yeah.
I'm very unoriginal. Nice. Always wearing my own logo. My goodness. Yeah, as Jonathan says in the chat, Eric is taller than Darian, so he's still P1. Beautiful stuff. Well, one thing that you are beating me in officially, Darian, currently is our pick points through the first, 5, 6, I guess we counted the Clash, so first 6 weeks.
6 races.
Right now, the chat, you guys are P1. You are on the top of the podium.
Yep.
You guys
P1.
have 90, oh my gosh, my vision, 92 total points. Darian is 4 points back. I caught up a little this week. I'm minus 14 in third. Jarrett minus 22. I know you picked Ty Gibbs to win the Xfinity race. You got that one right. And Danny B still fifth, but within striking distance, minus 27.
I won the cup race at least.
Yeah, he's got that.
Would have hoped that would have been worth a little bit more. I still get confused with our points sometimes. I'll be completely honest. I don't know. Well, things change
I'll have a
quickly.
diagram ready.
Things
No,
like
diagram.
things
There
like
you go.
don't
You needed
change.
to actually win the race so you get maximum points and you can really shoot up there.
Yeah.
Things like don't really change that much. Then all of a sudden, one week it'll be like completely different. I'll be like, what
Oh,
happened? Anyway. So going into Circuit of the Americas, we're going to begin with the truck race. Chat, even though y'all are leading, we'll save y'all for the end. Be sure to drop your pick for the truck race down in the chat right here as we're doing this live. Darian, we'll start with you instead. Darian, who's your pick to win the truck race on Saturday?
This is pretty simple. Is Kyle Busch in it?
He is.
Well, then Kyle Busch. Easy.
Yeah, I hate to be boring, but I think I'm going to have to go with Kyle Busch as well. I think I know where Danny's going, though, but we'll get to him in a second. Jarrett, who's your pick?
Boring for the win.
Busch. Oh,
Kyle
okay.
Busch.
Danny, are you going to do it? Do it,
Screw it.
Danny.
How often do I get to say this? Alex Bowman win the truck race.
I'll be
I
real.
love
The
it.
7. I think the 7 looks better than the 5. with
Yeah,
that
hey,
speed.
he might
I mean,
steal one
it's
here.
probably going to be Kyle Busch, but how often do I get to root for my favorite driver to truck race? So
No, why not?
Fair enough. Things can happen, but the chat is definitely leaning
Busch.
Kyle Busch without
Busch.
question. So we can make this quick. Let's go on.
So all I can hope for, Kyle Busch blows his engine and I win.
That's big. Danny has a
True.
big opportunity this weekend. All right, let's move on to the Xfinity race that'll take place right after the trucks on Saturday. Darian, who is your Xfinity Series pick?
I mean, look, this guy's on a roll right now. You know, he's having spectacular runs here or there. I mean, like we were talking, and you know, I just found it funny that he was, you know, considered to be struggling early on in the year and stuff. It's just he just hadn't won a race yet and stuff. And then now all of a sudden he has multiple wins. Ty Gibbs gets his 3rd win of the season at COTA.
You know, I want to go with Ty Gibbs, and I'm hesitant to go with the guy I am going with because I actually picked him last week, and I feel like Colleague has just kind of struggled to begin this year. They don't seem to be quite their normal selves, but if there's any place this guy can get things back on track, it's a road course like Circuit of the Americas, so I will go with AJ Allmendinger.
Man, you and me picked the. These were my 2 picks, by the way. Like if you guys picked the 2 same, I would have picked the other. But I'm gonna go AJ also. He was the highest finishing guy at COTA last year that is actually in this race. And with Austin Cindric out of the picture too, it's going to be that much, I think, easier for him to be one of the top 2 guys. I think Ty Gibbs is the guy he has to beat, but I think he'll get it done and beat him.
I'm actually going to go with a car we rarely get to see, but a pretty good driver, Miguel Paludo. That's who I'm actually going to say
I
is
like
going to win
that.
this one for Junior Motorsports. in
That's
the 88.
right. He's good. He's good.
He's going to be
in
doing
this
some
course.
trophy hunting. I think Miguel Paludo can get this
That's
one
a good.
done.
That might be a dark horse.
I
Yeah,
think
that'd
he
be
raced. Did he race this race last year? I feel like he ran
He did.
top 10
He did.
all day.
He did.
I think so,
He did.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Miguel Paludo on this one.
I think
I like
the
that
chat's
pick.
unanimous.
Chad is unanimously Allmendinger.
Mhm.
So I think that's 3 for Dinger. Let's move on to the Cup race. That will be on Sunday, like I said. Let's begin with who's going to suck this week. It's a road course. There are a lot of options. Darian, first road course, though, with the new car. And the new car is going to drive a little differently. It's built for road courses, right?
That
so
is
maybe
true.
could this help out some people? I don't know. Like, who's your suck pick, Darian?
I don't know. You know, like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I mean, since it is a road course, there are a ton of options here. You know, I don't know. This guy didn't do too good last year. Now, it wasn't because of the of anything else. I mean, the weather affected the racing to an extent. He ran into Bubba Wallace there because he couldn't see him, plowed straight into him. But I don't think he'll do the best. I'll go with Kevin Harvick having a sucky run this weekend. I mean, he's barely in the playoffs at the moment, just hovering above the cut line too. And I feel like this will damper his playoff hopes. So Kevin Harvick.
I hate to pick on a guy who's down. He's almost becoming the Almirola of this season, but you just mentioned him. He was involved in a crash last year. He did win a road course last year, so that makes me a little hesitant to pick this guy, but I'm going to go Christopher Bell. I think even when things are going well for him so far this year, like at Atlanta, he does something. Something happens at the end that ruins it, like going below the red line.
A good points day, and he opted to go below the line to battle for second. Like, dude, you could have at least finished third and got the points. Nope.
I worry that Bell right now is he's pressing a little bit because he knows he's in a Joe Gibbs car.
Yeah,
they should be running better, and they're not. And I just think he's going to overstep at some point at COTA, and it's just not going to go great for him.
Well, I'm going to say I'm going to be the same song, different verse here, minus verse 11, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin has not had a good season. He didn't run too hot here last year, even, whether it was dry or wet. So I think Hamlin's struggling season start will continue. I think this season start's going to be the complete polar opposite of last year's for the most part.
I might be taking some low-hanging fruit here. The driver, I think, is good at road courses, but the car will not be. Kaz Gralla, the Money Team Racing, ain't showing up for speed.
I forgot they're in this race. Good
That's
for them.
right.
That they are in it, and actually, I was betting between him or Loris Hesemans, but who?
I think he's raced F1 before a long time ago. I don't know. I have to look that up again to confirm, but
I think
yeah.
He's part of the Team Hessenberg 2017. It's their first race since Daytona, so.
I think we have a pretty obvious pick from the chat.
The chat's going Bubba.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of 23s.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
A lot of them were picking Hamlin as well, but mainly
Yeah.
Bubba. I guess they're not expecting that Xfinity race.
We'll
that
see.
much.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the Xfinity race to help him out. We'll see. But yeah, I totally get it.
One thing I will say, and he's running the Xfinity race too, but Ross Chastain was very vocal about Atlanta. Even though he didn't do well in the truck race, he was so grateful for having that extra track time.
Absolutely. I think still this is a new track for most of these drivers, and they will get a little more practice this year than last year, but still, more track time the better. Well, let's move on to our dark horse picks. Darian, kick things off. Who's the dark horse for Sunday's race?
I won't call this guy necessarily a favorite yet, and since I'm going to pick him as my dark horse, that means he's not going to be my wins pick, but I was tempted. Austin Cindric, I think at the very least, will get a top 5. And the reason I put him in the dark horse category,
I'd still put him in there. He's
Yeah.
only got one win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He only has one win. He's only made a handful of Cup Series starts up to this point. Granted, yes, it is a road course, which was his bread and butter in the Xfinity Series, driving for Team Penske. However, I don't think he will be off to winning road course races just quite yet, but he will be running up front. So I'll go with Cindric.
So I was also going to go with Cindric. I just remember last year he actually led a couple of laps in this race. Granted, of course, there was weather, but he qualified well in the dry. And we saw him run up front. I think he even led laps at Road America in one of his very few.
And before the shifter, before his transmission.
So I think Cindric proved last year in kind of a backup Penske car that, hey, he's a pretty good road course racer. This is obviously a new car, everything, but he's now in a main Penske car. I think Cindric's he's a solid win pick. Honestly, he's a great dark horse.
Well, I'm going to stick with the Ford family. This guy finished in the top 15, I believe 13th last year at COTA. I think the cars, at least for him, it seems like, have been better this year. Chris Buescher is going to be my dark horse pick. I think he might not be a guy that can just win it straight up, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see him in the top 10.
A lot of times in NASCAR, momentum is everything, and with 3 consecutive top 3 finishes and a 4th-place finisher last year, Ross Chastain should certainly be everyone's underdog.
I agree. The chat has been... I actually have not been paying attention to the chat. Has anybody else been paying attention?
It's very much a spread out right now.
It's very
That's
spread.
what I figured.
We don't get points for this one, so we might as well just go with whatever.
I see a few McDowells.
Yeah, I saw a few McDowells. Give him McDowell, because
Okay,
probably
now
not
they're
going
all
to pick...
coming in.
I see Briscoe.
Actually, I see a lot of Cindrics.
Well, I give it to him.
Claudia put watermelon.
Yeah, so Chastain.
Dang, it's Chastain or Cindric, but I feel like they might want to pick one of those guys to win, so I hate to give them the guy that they want to pick to win. We're going to save the poll for the end. I think for now, I don't know, it's my stream. The first thing I saw was a lot of Cindrics. I'm going to give them Austin Cindric.
So you can't pick Cindric, chat.
Yeah, I'm taking that one out of their hands.
The only ones that can pick Cindric are actually me and Danny.
Alrighty, Darian, let's
No,
kick things.
Darian.
What?
Darian picked Cindric as his underdog.
Yeah, it's my
Oh,
underdog.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said I picked him. Sorry.
I want to know who Darian has winning this race. Let's kick things off. Darian, who you got?
Well, first off, Eric, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win
Yes.
at COTA?
That's the question.
Okay, so let's kick this off. I mean, obviously, Vegas Insider, they clearly have two favorites here. I mean, Chase Elliott plus 250, and then Kyle Larson plus 300, and then the next closest guy is Martin Truex Jr. at plus 1,000. So they're thinking either Larson or Elliott has this on lock. I mean, I don't think this race will be as dominating as they think, but I mean, I do think that in the end, it'll come down to one of those two. I'm going to lean a little towards Chase Elliott here. You know, still doesn't have a win for Hendrick Motorsports yet this year. I feel like he will cross that checkbox, and Hendrick will have at least one win for all four of their cars once again. So Chase Elliott.
Speaking of Chase Elliott, you might as well give the chat that. That's all I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's all I'm seeing. I mean, we'll give him a little bit, but yeah, that's all I'm seeing too.
Dang, y'all picking the heavy favorites. That's not how you do things in Vegas. I'm going with a guy. I feel like he's going to be a common pick, and I'm actually glad the chat's going with Elliott. I was afraid when I gave them Cindric that I'd open the floodgates to them picking the same guy as me for all three rounds. But no, I'm going with Ross Chastain. What did you say earlier? Third, second, something like that the last 3 weeks? Ross Chastain finished fourth last year at Circuit of the Americas in a Chip Ganassi racing car. He's going to run the Xfinity race as well on Saturday. Ross Chastain is going to finally break through and get his first career Cup Series win. It's going to happen in front of me. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to bring my own watermelon to smash in the parking lot after he gets it done. That's how excited I am for him.
Just go to Publix and buy like a portion of watermelon to smash it.
I'm gonna buy some sliced watermelon and see if they'll let me that through security, and I'll start throwing it. I'll be like pelting him as he goes. Like it's when they throw beer cans at Jeff Gordon. I'll be throwing watermelon slices at Chastain.
Watch, COTA will probably really let you bring a whole ass watermelon in there and still take your sunscreen.
I'll hollow out the watermelon and slip the sunscreen in. That's the
you're onto something. Using the big brain.
Big brain. But yeah, Chastain. That's my pick.
I'm gonna hope to use the big brain with my pick. I don't think this is going to be a very common one, but I'm going to go with him anyway because I have a bit of faith in him. I'm going with Austin Cindric as my pick, and here's why. We talked about he was probably the man to beat at Road America before the shifter issue, right?
Yeah.
He led a couple laps at COTA last year, but here's the thing everyone seems to forget about that. This man had some of the fastest laps on track when everyone was on wet tires and he was still on slicks. Like,
Facts.
I feel like people forget that. And so I think, you know, and on top of that, I think that he has a better team behind him now. I think that he's not going to be sort of the test car, that fourth Penske car that's just rolled out for 3 or 4 races a year. He's in the 2 car. So I'm going to go with Austin Cindric as my pick here. I'm going to take that chance because I think that I could really cash in here.
I'm also going with Eric on this one. I'm riding the watermelon train. I like Chastain again this week.
I noticed when you asked,
dark horse, didn't you?
Huh?
Did you pick Chastain as your dark horse though? I think you did.
Oh,
yeah, you picked him as your dark horse. So you can't pick him as your winner.
You can't pick him as a winner. That's right.
Okay, give me Elliott. I'll take that.
All right, I'll take Elliott.
oh, what a terrible backup plan.
Yeah.
And then the chat has. Well,
they got Elliott, yeah. As
Yeah,
Spencer
Elliott,
5478 has put in the chat, 9999999. Yeah, that's basically the chat for the last 5 minutes.
See, Eric's that good. He made me forget I even had him as an underdog.
That's right. Yeah,
See, I remember when Darian first read the betting odds, you went out of your way to ask, Where's Ross Chastain? I noticed he's not up there. And I was like, yeah, that's I was about to ask that same question.
But now, like Jared, I mean, he made amazing points too that I had completely forgotten about with Cindric too. So I'm like, am I regretting?
Trust me,
picking him
don't
up?
let him sway you.
I will never forget being that freaking wet as I was at COTA.
That could sound really bad.
We got slapped by the rain. It was so bad.
It was a joy having y'all in Texas last year, though. We will miss you this time.
It was awesome. I wish I could be there this time.
It was fun seeing Carnation too. Yeah, him and his
that's right.
Yeah. It's been cool to see so many people in the chat here tonight also saying that they're going to be at the race. And actually, on that note, before we start to wrap things up here, we do have to get to the final batch of super chats. So I will go ahead and jump into that real quick. Earlier tonight, the other White Castle, thank you for the 5. In my opinion, the lack of passing in the field was actually a good thing. It meant the best cars could stay up front. Thus, the race felt less like a crapshoot. Talking about Atlanta. And that's fair. You definitely saw good cars lead most of the laps, like William Byron. Alex Viveros sent another 5, said, Ryan C., I'm going to win. Ty Gibbs, activate God's plan to get a huge run and win. I like that. That's hilarious. Fly Guy only 773 with the 20 earlier. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Great to see you. Love the vibes. The Atlanta race wasn't what I expected, but if they put it in a video game, I would definitely send everybody to the back of the bus.
Oh, dude, on iRacing, it's going to be crazy.
Side note, I forgot to mention that one thing that I said this week, the racing at Atlanta did remind me of like mile and a half racing in EA Sports video games. So in a way, I did like it for that part of it.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy on iRacing. I can already see all the rages on that track already.
Kind of nostalgic.
Great.
Brock Culpepper, thank you for the 5. Thoughts on Blaney so far this season? What's y'all's prediction for him?
He'll get a couple wins.
I think he'll get a couple wins. Yeah, he'll definitely get a couple wins. Just needs better luck on his side and, well, a better pit crew as well.
Pit crew hosed him up at Phoenix for sure. Thank you, Isaac, for the 5. Which of these drivers at the bottom of the standing should be concerned? Hamlin 26th, McDowell 27th, Custer 28th, Bell 30th, Burton 33rd. Dang, I didn't realize Harrison had dropped to the very bottom of the full-time
Bell
drivers.
Should be concerned
So there are 3 drivers out of those. You got Hamlin, Custer, and Bell. Now for Burton, I'm not going to be too concerned. He's a rookie, so we can give him a bit of a pass. But yeah, no, those 3 I just mentioned. Damn, I didn't know Custer was that low, though. So, geez.
Especially with SHR, the rest of the team kind of running pretty well.
Checking out.
I'm not going to worry about Hamlin unless it's like 5 or 6 races to go. He's always been someone who's good enough to get at least 1 win a year. So.
I think he's more than capable and hungry to get redemption for Richmond this year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan Sellers. Going to COTA this weekend for my first road course race. How much different is the at-track experience for an oval versus a road course? Love the podcast.
Oh, because the road course is so much bigger. And there's
a lot of walking, especially a big road course like COTA, but they do a pretty good job.
One that's designed to kind of essentially be more like a stadium road course, though, ain't it?
A little. I mean, it's very long. Like even like turn 11, turn 12 with those grandstands, you can see a lot of the track, but you still can't see the front stretch, and you still can't see like that, like turn 11 or turn 10 way off in the corner. So even it's not as good as the Roval, let me put it that way, but it's better than like Sonoma from what I've heard.
I will give one piece of advice that I'm sure most people won't give. Darian and I can both attest to this. If you can, if it's within your means to do so, go there Friday night after like the track activity and practice and stuff is done. It is so cool to walk around. You can get your bearings very easily, and they just let you into all the stands everywhere. Like there's no one stopping you. So it's like you can see where all the really good views are at. So I that's my advice to anyone going to a road course in general. Go as early as you can to see like the best view possible.
And they have go-karting there too in the front stretch. It's pretty cool.
They do. Yeah, that's a good point. Turnpike, thanks for the 5. Good to see you. Man, Eric, love that new sign you got behind you. And any of y'all going to Bristol? Pals on me. What's Pals?
I'll be going. Yep.
Oh, you don't know Pals?
I don't live in Bristol. They don't know what's Pals.
But you're supposed to at least stop there. They have great fries.
Is that like the Buc-ee's of Tennessee? What is it?
It's literally a fast food restaurant that has giant statues of food outside and it's a drive-through only.
Isn't there a hot dog on like the roof?
There's a hot dog, burger, fries, milkshake all outside.
I mean, it
Just
sounds
look for the
beautiful.
giant wiener on the roof.
I will keep my eyes peeled. It sounds hard to miss. Thank you, Nova Stone 12. When will Daytona wear out like the 2000s?
It's getting there. I mean, if you look at the track, there's sealant all over it.
Maybe someday. Just light it on fire a few more times.
We might need another jet dryer to
exactly.
process.
Andrew Mayer, thanks for the 5. Is it time to start panicking for Hamlin? The 11 team has been the best team for the last 3 seasons, and they've fallen off a cliff so far this year. Some of it's been just wrong place, wrong time. The shifter or the blowing out the transmission at wherever that was that Vegas?
Vegas, yeah.
Like Jared said, not until there's 4 races to go.
I mean, I'm not going to be too panicked right away, but I mean, it still is very surprising to see him all the way down there.
Out of all those down there, Bell is who I'd be most concerned
about. It's the fact that Hamlin hasn't finished a single race, 0 top 10 so far this year. Like, keep in mind, he did not win in the regular season last year. I don't think he can get away with that this season. Not after the start. No. Tyler Rekoff, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you. Do you think that we are getting back to having respectable rookie classes in Cup going forward? Xfinity is in a good place these days.
Yes.
A lot of it has to do with how long they're staying down there. Like I that's why I was so highly praising Austin Cindric this year. He spent so much time developing in lower series.
Briscoe too.
Yeah, Briscoe too, but I think Austin Cindric more. I don't feel like he's a rookie. I just don't feel like he's a rookie.
See, I feel that way about Briscoe. I know he's not a rookie this year; he's a second-year driver. But even last year as a rookie, like I felt like Briscoe, because he's a little older, he's been around a while. He'd grinded in all the lower ranks. Like you'd seen him a while. We saw him in ARCA races like 7-8 years ago. I feel like so. I feel like yes, that is becoming a trend once again. You're not seeing the William Byrons coming into Cup at like 20 years old anymore.
Yeah,
And even Noah Gregson, he's just now making part-time Cup Series starts, and I feel like he's already established star at this point.
Yeah, this is his fourth full-time year in Xfinity right now. I like that we're getting back to that a little more.
Yeah, and judging from the last Cup race, he still has some learning to do in the Cup Series.
We didn't even mention
He
that.
still has some learning.
Versus we saw, guys like, even the 2 year ago champion Chase Elliott, he looked kind of odd there the first few years because he was maybe put up there too soon.
Robert Russo, thanks for the super chat. NASCAR calling themselves entertainment means now they can fix races. How can you be mad? It's not a sport, it's entertainment.
Well, that'll be really hard to fix races.
I don't think it's going there yet, but I still don't like that. The problem is that's the idea that's being put in your head when they use that kind of language.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, what he's getting at is they would have to literally change their classification from sport to entertainment.
You couldn't bet on races the way you do now.
What?
I don't think you wouldn't be able, legally, I imagine you wouldn't be allowed to bet on races.
No, it's already a predetermined outcome.
They actually scripted it.
Well, technically you can bet on WWE, but
really,
people bet on WWE.
You can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
No. Yeah,
I'm learning so much tonight. First
because
pals,
the second it happens with that, they make it look like someone's going to win, and then someone doesn't win. So.
Jeez. Oh. Thank you, Way CIC. I appreciate it. Do you lot think NASCAR 20? Oh my gosh. Do you lot think NASCAR 21 will get Gen 7 ever?
I think they got to fix the game.
They got to fix the game first,
Maybe
bro.
NASCAR 22?
Yeah.
Thank you, Gavin Adcock. The last time Chase Elliott won was July 4th, 2021. He's in a slump when he comes to winning.
That's right.
It's hard to say that about a guy who just made the championship 4 and is currently leading the points, but it does kind of feel like he's in a slump. Like, he hasn't won an oval since 2020. Like, geez. I'm not trying to anger the Chase Elliott fans. I'm sorry. Thank you, PTM Billy, for the 5. I'm jealous of that diecast, Jarrett. You're a Prilosec diecast. I have the 124 scale of that car. Was a big Jeff Burton fan growing up, so I try to grab his cars when I can. That's awesome. Ooh. That's super cool. That's a good looking one. Groovy Goose, good to see you. The Darien and should be a tornado siren. And he says, spin the UFO. Gosh, we could have used those in Texas the other day. I'm hoping everyone in Texas, especially North and Central Texas, are doing okay after the tornadoes that blew through here, I think 2 days ago.
Yeah, no, I saw a Twitter post. There's one girl working at Walmart basically like ran inside to get away from the freaking tornado, and her knees were all bloody and stuff because it was like dragging her.
Did you see the dude in the truck?
I will say,
it got like flipped over and then landed back on his wheels.
I hope GM will get, because Toyota did this a couple years ago when there was a wildfire and a dude survived in his Tundra and the Tundra was like still driving afterwards. I hope that GM does something similar, goes and gets, it's an old red Chevy Silverado, get him a brand new red Silverado and say, here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
I saw an image of like Texas Motor Speedway. It almost looked like there was a small tornado like in Texas Motor Speedway. Maybe it was just a smudge on the lens.
And then some people on NASCAR Twitter were like, yeah, go for it, destroy it. I'm like, oh, come on.
Do it.
Huh?
Are there condos at Texas? I know a lot of those mile and a half has.
Atlanta has
think of the people.
Charlotte does. Texas does.
Yeah, I don't want people to die.
Hit the other side.
Yeah.
A final handful of super chats here. It's nothing. Thanks for the 5. Y'all going to Bristol Dirt? I am. Which current track would you want redone, and how, like Atlanta or Bristol? Okay, which current track would you want redone, and how? Like Atlanta or Bristol for entertainment? Also, hello, NASCAR Weekly Podcast chat. Thank you for the super chat. It's nothing.
Texas 3 Mile Superspeedway.
Yeah, 3 Mile Superspeedway. About to say.
The movement is starting.
I'd rather them all become Bristol, honestly. If he's giving that as an option, I'd prefer that. Thank you, Nova Stone 12 for another 2. Of course, iRacing helps design a Wreckfest track. Dang. Groovy Goose, thanks for the 2. If Bowman is a hack, does that make Hamlin a glitch?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Kyle Busch.
Really glitchy so far.
Yeah, he's looking really glitchy.
Son of a glitch, Hamlin. Kyle Busch 20, interesting username. Thank you for the $4.99. Big Kyle Busch fan. Do you think he's going to win this year?
Oh yeah.
He'll win at least
Probably.
one race.
He's won a race every year of his
If
career.
he could somehow squeak out a win in 2020, as bad of a year as that was for him, he can do it.
Yeah.
And now he has practice, sort of. Practice back. And then I believe this is the final one from Colin Misner. Thanks for the $10. What is the best trio of commentators in recent years from any network?
Oh man, I gotta say, I've been watching a lot of 2003 races here lately, and I like that whole dynamic that TNT had. Actually, I was just listening to it again. I was like, man, this is actually really good commentary, and actually really enjoyed Bill Weber on the pre-race stuff too.
I'll go a little more recent here and stuff. Like, yeah, obviously, you know, Alan Bestwick, Bill Weber, that era, and then also Fox's early 2000s era was cool and stuff. But in my opinion, a very underrated trio of commentators was ESPN's final years. You had Alan Bestwick, Dale Jarrett, and Andy Petrie. I felt like that was perfect. That was the perfect booth. They all worked together, commentating races from 2011 to the end of their contract in 2014. I felt like those were the 4 best years NASCAR on ESPN had for its Cup Series coverage.
And I gotta say, I saw Andy Petrie in the garage this weekend.
I saw him too.
That man don't age. He still looks the same.
He's still the same as he looked in 07, you know, when they first came on TV.
If I can take Boyer out, can I do Kenseth Martin and Mike Joy?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not?
If I'm allowed to take Boyer out to do that, if I have to do like just straight up, like if we're talking recent memory, I'll go with the ESPN trio. But yeah, I
honestly really liked McReynolds, Waltrip, and Joy in like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah, that was solid.
I thought they were great. If I could pick any though, and I know it's not a 3-person booth, but Alan Bestwick and James Hinchcliffe for the SRX were really good last year.
Yeah.
You know, throw in Matt Yoakum, Brad Doherty, who else they have? Lindsey Zarniak. Like that whole team was pretty solid last year.
You know, even I enjoyed Alan Bestwick, Brad Doherty, and Rusty Wallace when they would be together doing some of the nationwide races back then.
That's right.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you everyone for the super chats. I believe that is going to do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We are just over 2 hours. That's going to do it for the latest edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Again, a big thank you to Anthony Alfredo for joining us for the first 15 or so minutes, sharing his thoughts. Looking forward to seeing him in the Pit Boss car this weekend at COTA. Thank you all of you watching for being a part of the live chat tonight, for interacting with us, interacting with each other, sharing your picks for this weekend. Thank you to everyone who sent in super chats, of course. Your support means the world. And gentlemen, thanks for being here. As always, it's always a good time to talk to you. Next week, we will be, if I'm not mistaken, we will be on Danny B's channel. Danny B right over there. Darian, are you gonna be there as well? Is this gonna be another like Darian over the shoulder kind of?
I'm here this week, so probably not next week, but definitely sometime next month we'll do this again.
We'll be back. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just gonna say this is definitely coming. You know, something we do here and there. I mean, who knows? Maybe we can expand this into 3 people in one box one time.
Yeah, or you can come over to my place when you do it.
Yeah.
Bring Shugs. I'm sure Darian's apartment would love that. Well, it's been great. We'll be back on Danny's channel next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you're not subscribed, be sure to click on his name down in the description below. Take you straight to his channel. You can check out his latest video from Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can subscribe there. You can subscribe to all of our channels down there as well, and check out Anthony Alfredo as well. But that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for tuning into the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. I do not have the Dale call. I'm slacking. I apologize.
What?
I know. It's tragic, but we'll do
we
better
all try
next
to
week.
impersonate it.
Yeah, I like that. Acapella.
Hold on.
What?
Wait, does Jarrett have it?
Jared's coming in clutch. This is big. Oh no! Don't let us
Can he
down.
find it?
I think it still kind of works.
Kind of works.
Call.
Okay, it kind of broke a little.
Oh, that's okay.
We'll just,
If it doesn't work, we'll do it a cappella.
That's okay. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Goodbye. Oh, no.
Acapella.
Green, green. Holy moly. Great job! Yeah! This guy. Thank you! Wow! Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
And we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year!